FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox now have back-to-back wins over Texas after a 9-4 victory last night at Fenway Park. Connor Wong hit a 3-run homer to lead the offense, and Alex Cora saw Cutter Crawford take a perfect game into the sixth inning.
I threw the ball well, extremely well. Good four-seamer. The sweeper was good. I think the four-seamer played better than the last three or four. Command was a lot better. He was on the attack, very efficient, and he gave us a chance to win.
Sox are now only one game out of a playoff spot. They closed down a 3-game series with the Rangers tonight. Lefty James Paxton has been diagnosed with a partial tear of his right calf muscle. He is now hoping to be back before the end of the regular season. As for the Patriots, they held a joint practice with Philadelphia yesterday in Foxborough, and by all accounts, the offense had a real rough morning. Pat's quarterbacks were sacked roughly 20% of the time they dropped back during the workout. The two teams will play an exhibition game against each other in Foxborough tomorrow night. Minnesota rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy is now out indefinitely. He needs surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee. If it's a full repair, he could miss the entire upcoming season, and the entire NBA schedule is due to be released before the end of this week. Yesterday, the Celtics got their 4-game Emirates NBA Cup schedule. All 4 games are in November, and it includes a road game against Chicago on the night after Thanksgiving. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Wilbur Theater. Comedian Tom Segura is coming to Boston on his new tour, Come Together, Friday, February 14th at TD Garden. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. Visit Ticketmaster.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Open him up with a football.
98.5. The Hub.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
Cocaine and hookers. Yes. Na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy, Town Fair Tire Studios, 617-779-0985. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. Simply search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and get in that way. There's a conversation going on there between people that it's very exciting. Today, we will finish up our celebration of 15th anniversary of the radio station. There's some Chateau Luftplatz here in front of us. They strategically placed champagne bottles
it's a Veuve Clicquot
on the table. So I suppose so Felger and Maz. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. But it was funny because they had cake here after the show yesterday, and then Hardy was like, "I'm supposed to get excited for cake," and I'm like, "You don't have." I'm like, "No one's expecting you to get excited." And then one of our bosses came in, and he's like, "What are you guys talking about?" I said, "I was just telling Hardy like he doesn't have to get excited about cake." And he's like, "Well, we're having cake in lieu of champagne, a champagne toast." Because of you two.
because of you two drunks. Like, oh.
And then that makes me feel like, it made me feel at first like, we're ruining the fun for everyone. Because I would like it if I would prefer people drink around me than don't drink around me.
Yeah.
I honestly would. Like every girl I go out with, every girl that I've gone out with, like they'll often Google me. I mean, every girl I think Googles everyone, and then they'll go, Like, do you care if I drink? And I'll be, believe me, you would think it would be a negative, but it ends up being a positive. These girls like the fixer-upper. Yeah, yeah. It's never been a hindrance.
It's like Coldplay. I will try and fix you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm always like, yeah, I make a joke about it. I go, yeah, because like I'll be less annoying if you drink. But I would prefer people to drink. But it was nice to know that you couldn't have your 10 o'clock champagne, Wallach, which you're so fond of. Instead of sitting in your car and pulling the bottle out from under the passenger seat, you could have drank openly.
Do you go
in the morning?
Do you go like a pint or a fifth underneath the seat, or do you go nips in the center console?
No, got to go nips.
You can throw them out the window.
Got to go nips.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Planes, trains.
It took me a while to figure out why there was so many nips on the side of the road. When I'm out walking the dog, I'm like, oh, that's just people chucking them out the window.
I didn't figure that out until like a year ago, when I always just assumed it was kids drinking and then throwing and then just like drinking. But then like a year ago, I was like, yeah, there's not kids like drinking on Beacon Street. Like they're not drinking like they would drink in like the woods or something. Yeah. So it's people flinging them out the windows.
And so, yeah, because you see them, mixed in with less and less cigarette butts. Don't see as many of those anymore. But also the very occasional chicken wing from like, just apparently people eat wings as they're driving and will throw the wings out the window when they're done. I've seen it enough times to where I now believe it's a thing. Doesn't seem like a great car food. I don't think I've ever eaten a chicken wing, and I've had entire meals.
Messy for the car in motion.
I've had entire meals while driving. I've eaten salads, while I'm driving.
Oh, so have I.
Yeah, I mean, I can have anything short of a porterhouse that really requires two hands, but the cutting and stuff, you can handle it. But never had a chicken wing while I was driving. People do, because you see the bones. Yeah. What else is it?
When I years ago, we had these friends that lived in Framingham, and we would go over there, and I would get all messed up and get a ride home. But right across the street from where they lived was the Taco Bell KFC. Oof. And there is nothing like on a Sunday night at like 9 o'clock when you've been watching football and drinking all day to go in there and going, I could have anything I want. Like I could order everything. And so I would order this giant amounts of food, and I never have Kentucky Fried Chicken. I haven't had Kentucky Fried Chicken now probably in 10 years, but I would just eat the Kentucky Fried Chicken, throw it out the window, and then I would wake up the next morning just covered in like grease and Taco Bell and like Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was pretty gross.
There's one of those Taco Bell KFCs near me, and every once in a while, I'll stop in, and my son especially be like, yeah, can I have some chicken strips? And I haven't had it either, but I will occasionally take a little of the biscuit from the KFC meal. It doesn't suck. It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's no Chick-fil-A biscuits, though. In fact, I would like that today. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, the nips are specifically for drinking and driving now. I'm guilty of this, but not drinking and driving like drunk. But you stop at the liquor store on your way home, you get a bottle, and then you get a nip. And it goes from legal transportation of alcohol to recyclable in the floor of your passenger seat in one quick shot. And then, you get the night started a little early.
Yeah.
So you can't get arrested for... You can't get arrested for drinking and driving if it's empty instantly.
Pretty sure you can. And Fred, would you like to do the "we don't condone this in any way" statement, or we just let it go?
What, that you have a nip while driving?
Yes.
I don't know. It's not my business. I don't have anything to do with what the guy does. The thing is that it does seem like nips are built for clandestine drinking.
I don't. What else are they for? Airplanes and in the car.
Well, it used to be in South Carolina they only served hard liquor out of nips, like at bars, and
oh, that's weird.
But it was great because you got true pours. If you were like at a hotel bar, they would pour. You would get true pours, and if you asked for a double, it was like a real double.
Yeah.
I used to get nips and bring them on the airplane because there's flights that they'll go. There's turbulence. We're not serving anything, and then you're like, oh well, I'm on this thing for 3 hours. I want some kind of sedation, so I would bring nips on the plane. You were allowed to bring, like 8 or something, like in a clear plastic bag. I don't know what the number was, but you were allowed to bring like a certain amount of nips. And now they say you can't bring outside alcohol. But
I think that's still a pretty common practice. People bringing their nips on the airplane.
I don't know what's wrong with it. I know you're not supposed to, but I mean, what are they going to do? Arrest you?
Well, I mean, is it going to show up in your bag as something?
You're allowed to bring it on. You're just not allowed to consume it on the plane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's less than 3 ounces.
Yeah. Believe me, I know. You're allowed to bring them on the plane because I went through security with nips in my bag 50 times. Larry, go ahead.
Hey, guys. Good morning. When I was an apprentice, I'm an electrician here in Boston, and I got a DUI, believe it or not. And the guy on my job said, hey, I'll drive you. I'll pick you up in Dorchester, drive you to work every day, but you got to buy booze on the ride home. I'm thinking it's a Friday. You know what I mean? All right, every Friday I'll buy the beers. So Monday morning we get out, we pulls right to a liquor store right after work, grabs, hey, I want a 6-pack of Heineken and 6 nips. 3 for him, 3 for him, 3 for me, right? We're coming from Walpole, that where the Celtics used to practice out there.
Yeah.
It was Walpole.
Waltham,
whatever.
Waltham.
It's probably a 45-minute ride from there to get back to Boston. After 3 days, I'm like, dude, I can't do this. One, I don't got the money, and I'm getting out of the car drunk at 3:30 every day.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
That's an early time for to be doing shots. One of the funny stories about nips is when that lawyer got like pulled over. He had like done all this illegal stuff in the car, and then they searched his car and they found all these Dr. McGillicuddy's nips, and I'm like, how did you get drunk on Dr. McGillicuddy?
He thought he was like in Newton, and he was in like Worcester or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh,
Dr. McGillicuddy's is like a 20% like mint flavored.
It's like mouthwash. They try and pass it off.
Almost like schnapps.
Yeah. It's like schnapps. It's very low in alcohol and very high in calories. Peter, go ahead.
Hey guys, my buddies and I use them all the time for college sporting events because a lot of those places don't serve alcohol. So we, wear compression shorts, put them all down there, and then break them out in the bathroom stalls.
Yeah, I did that at BC games all the time, and also I would bring nips into Red Sox games too, because I mean the security doesn't go off. I mean, I would just shove nips in my pockets and then go into the Red Sox game.
And the compression shorts are good, especially if you have nips of brandy, because you want that at a certain temperature. And if you can smuggle in a snifter while you're at it, then you can really enjoy your drink.
I bet you anything that at like Ole Miss or something, one of those douchebags that wears the suits to the games has brought a snifter into the game. I guarantee you. So one time I went to a Georgia Tech.
I enjoy an old-fashioned, but I must have the proper vessel to convey it into my body.
Why a sniff?
Or they're bringing like mojitos. They're bringing like mint to crush.
Yes, for the mint julep. You see, now I enjoy a horse race as much as the next fella, but you must have the proper glass, otherwise it could be considered coarse and a gauche behavior.
You know, my friend and ex-intern Sebastian, it's on that Woody show out of Los Angeles that did the thing to Felger at the Super Bowl.
I like that guy.
Well, when he was an intern for me in Atlanta, he might have been working for the show at the time, but he went to Georgia Tech. So we went to this Georgia Tech game, and they didn't serve alcohol at Bobby Dodd Stadium, I believe is what it's called. And so he goes, yeah, I got it. And so I said, okay. He goes, I got liquor, because we were at his old fraternity house, and then we walked over. So I assumed he had nips, or he had had a bottle of liquor that he'd put on him, or a thermos or anything. He goes, I got to go in the stall. He goes in the stall. I go, I'm going in the stall with you. I go, I want to see what you're doing. He wasn't going to the bathroom.
Oh,
but I mean, if he wanted sex, I figured. I mean, he brought liquor.
Might as well be in there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, but I went in because I'm like, I want to see what'd you do with this alcohol? Why do you got to go in the stall? And he goes, and he's got a Ziploc bag that he put on, in his, by his taint. and he was just walking around with a Ziploc bag full of like whiskey that he had shoved down his underwear, like in his. I'm like, I'm not drinking that. It's disgusting. And so that's why I went into the stall, because I knew it was Sebastian. And I'm like, I know you did something dumb. You probably gave yourself an enema and like held it, and then was like,
for a radio stunt that no one will ever hear about.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the yeah. But I used to buy the nips. I'd buy the nips of Fireball because you don't need to mix the Fireball.
Oh yeah.
And then I would take them on the airplane. Oh yeah, nips. And then at the end you start hiding nips. Then that's when things got unfun.
Nah,
it's hiding nips around.
Nah.
All right.
Good.
No. All right, Hardy.
When the fun stops.
That's when the fun stops. All right, Hardy, what's going on? What's happening?
Red Sox played last night. We got football ramping up again with some reports out there about a certain player. I don't know. Is he on the move finally? Well, we'll find out.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Hey, everybody. We are Toucher and Hardy. Hardy, what's the deal? What's going on?
Red Sox, Rangers last night. Connor Wong at the plate.
Swinging a drive, sucked down the line. It is gone. That's a 3-run jack. 6-0 Boston. Connor Wong touching them all for the 11th time this year.
He makes his living, huh, Obi? And that is the separator.
That's a three-run jack.
Yeah, Mr. Nicholson, how you doing? No anger management for you today because you hit a dinger.
Here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny. Oh, no. Don't kill olive oil.
Just throwing every Nicholson movie reference you can.
Yeah.
What if this is as good as it gets?
There's no joking around here, Mr. Joker, because you just hit a ding-dong.
Put your football helmet on and get on the back of that motorcycle and head to New Orleans, you acid-taking freak.
Or you could just
that's
go.
a deep pull.
Or you could just say, you know, that. But that was it. That's a different one. But you could just. Was he an easy rider? No, he wasn't.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's the football element.
Yeah, that's right. That ball was an easy ride out of the park today.
I don't know what the term is, but I feel very endeared by watching that ball leave the park.
You banged Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine.
Did he?
I think
so,
so,
in the movie.
In the movie, but I think Shirley MacLaine had sex with pretty much every movie star of that generation.
Oh, well, good for her. That was in the 5th inning after the Sox were already up 3-0, so that pretty much put it away. But, you know, the Rangers scored a few there in the 6th, and they needed Nick to come in and do something.
Base hit into right.
Nicky for the poope in the bed.
Not Gemelli.
Oh.
Abreu coming. Garcia's throw. He dives. He's safe at home. Nick Sogard with a big hit. 8-4 Boston.
Woo! So there you go.
Sogard your life.
So guard your life?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Against what?
Philistines.
Okay, all right, very good. So the Red Sox get the win over Texas, 9-4. Is that another series win for them?
It is.
Wow, how about that?
Go for a sweep tonight.
All right. Now they will play the third and final game of the set. Alex Cora, how are you doing with your pitcher out there?
We're going to be aggressive. You know, we're going to use everybody, and we're going to try to get 27 outs however we can to win games. You know, we're in the middle of playoff chase or whatever you want to call it, you know, and if I feel like that's the moment of the game, that's the moment of the game. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not going to work.
Don't second guess yourself. Playoff chase is
That's fine. That's fine. You can say that.
Don't be.
Used his closer for a second straight day. Used him for 4 outs yesterday.
Yeah.
Kenley Jansen, yes.
Kenley.
Yep.
Cutter Crawford, good through 4 innings. He ended up going 5 1/3, but 4 runs on 3 hits.
Perfect game.
4 strikeouts.
Into the 6th inning.
Yeah, right into the 6th. And then, well, the wheels came off a little bit, but the Sox had offensively already given him a 6-0 lead, so he was fine. He's in good shape. So there we go. Watching your Boston Red Sox says, yes, I think it's okay to say, even the way after they stumbled out of the gate after the All-Star break, that they are in a playoff race.
1 game out of a playoff spot this morning.
Which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay,
no. They should make the playoffs.
I mean, give it.
We'll find out. The next 10 days after this one are very difficult. Very difficult. They have 4 against Baltimore, 3 against Houston, and 3 against the best team in the league since the All-Star break, Arizona. So we'll find out in a couple of weeks where they are.
Yeah, they're not as good as Houston. I can tell you from being there.
Yeah.
I don't think you needed to be there, but they're not as good as Houston. But they're better than Kansas City, and they're better than Seattle. So, I mean, they're better than those 2 teams right now.
Just unlucky that you have to play these 10 games against these 3 teams at this point in the season.
Look, you could be the Cardinals.
It's just you take it, you know, with this team lately anyway, as don't ask for much. Give me something to watch in August, first and foremost.
Done.
Okay?
Yep.
So they're giving us something to watch in August.
Yep.
Fred, you okay after your the bad news about your whoopee yesterday? your anointed one, J.J. McCarthy?
I've been following it very closely. I know what happened to him. I don't know why he's the anointed one. This just gives Sammy D a chance to get nuts.
That's right.
Tests have revealed that McCarthy, who is with the Vikings, as we all remember, has a tear in the meniscus of his right knee. A final determination will be made once he undergoes surgery this week.
Yeah, my point had been made. I just said that he was going to be a high draft pick, which he was. So my point. There's no taking it back now. I mean, I won.
Yeah, as you're just drooling all over him. He's like, this guy's the next Montana. This guy's the next Joe Namath.
I think he's more like, he's Joe Namath in his love of wearing fur, but he's like a combination of Brady, Montana, Jordan, Mickey Mantle. He's all rolled into one.
Mantle.
He looks like 5 years old. He was going to be their starter. And Kevin O'Connell is no stranger to offense, and he was going to be the starter. But I do think that Sam Darnold, if he was not drafted by the Jets.
Well, this will be the real test because he's a few years past that. We'll see if he plays well.
He's not even old.
I mean, he's got a clear runway. I mean, this is his job now.
Like,
so.
I think Sam Darnold, even though he was drafted like 6 years ago, might be around the same age as like Bo Nix. And I don't know if I'm wrong. I can look right now. I could be wrong. I'm often wrong.
Bo Nix is what, 24?
No, I think he's older than that. I think might be 25.
Sam Darnold is 27.
Yeah. All right. And then how old is Bo Nix?
I think Bo Nix is 24. I'll have to double check.
All right. You double check. Don't you?
Bo Nix is 24 years old.
All right. So he's only 3 years older than Bo Nix. So there you go. There you have it. Give Sammy D a shot. Let him shine.
McCarthy posted on X. He said, "Love you, Viking Nation." Do you really love Viking Nation already?
Yeah, he's fallen in love with the area during camp.
Is Viking Nation a thing? Love you, Viking Nation. I'll be back in no time. Amor Fati.
Yeah, that's for Black Israelites. He started retweeting a lot of the Kyrie Irving messaging.
I don't speak German, so
Good
I
for
don't know
him.
what he's saying. Referencing the belief that one should appreciate all experiences in life, regardless of whether they are pleasant.
Listen, man, you got to experience humility.
Well, you got to experience the crossword puzzle when you're laying up in bed after your surgery, and if he knows his Latin, as he apparently does, he'll do very well. So my mother always credited her ability to do a crossword. She had to take Latin for years back in high school, in the 40s or whenever she was there, 50s, 60s.
My grandfather was left-handed. He was
born in the 40s, high school in the 60s.
He was at some garbage school in Long Island. He had to go out to Long Island after his dad died. And so he had to go live with his aunts, there was 3 aunts. They were like shrewd, what do you call it? Like barren women. Like they all lived together.
Oh.
And him and his brother had to go out there, and they made him work. I told you he was the janitor at his middle school while he went to the middle school. Like he had to work and stuff, and it was this like school for poor people that nuns taught, like the Blues Brothers. And he was left-handed, and they used to whip his left hand with rulers, and they wouldn't let you write with your left hand because that was considered ungodly.
The tool of the devil, being left-handed.
But is that even in the Bible? Because like every time I've been to church or done any reading about Christianity, there seems to be a lot of stuff that people have held on to that seems very cruel that you don't hear about in church. So I don't. Is there like some place, like one sentence in the Bible that could be interpreted as you shouldn't use your left hand to write? That left hand is like the hand of Satan? Because that seems pretty dumb. Go ahead.
Just a quick Google search said in the 17th century, it was thought the devil baptized his followers with the left hand.
Oh, but that's the 17th century.
Yeah, so there's nothing. I'm sorry. It was just a quick Google search.
No, I understand. But does that, if it was the 17th century, that doesn't mean it's in the Bible.
The Bible's emphasis on the, quote, the right hand, sitting at someone's right hand, is a position of honor, as we all know from Psalm 110:1. There's the right hand is
Psalm
consistently valued over the left hand in Genesis and Galatians, but biblical scholars, Fred, have long held that this is merely a nod to the fact that most people were right-handed, and there is no negative statement or scripture regarding being left-handed.
Yeah, it is odd that so many of these things that seem to be pretty, they're interpreted pretty literally in the Bible become these like terrible things that turn people off to religion. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why they would whip my grandfather. They wouldn't let him write left-handed. It seems very odd, very, very odd that would be something that you would think that you would go, oh, well, this is the best thing for the boy. He can't be sitting there using his dominant hand. Think about you, John.
Left-handed.
John would not even touch himself with his left hand. It was always the stranger. He would always sit on his right until it went numb.
Ambidextrous, you see.
Well, I would imagine you become that way.
Yeah.
You're like Larry Bird.
Right. Exactly.
You're like Larry Bird. That's why Wall could go out there and throw you an 80-mile-an-hour fastball with either hand.
I think
that time pleasuring himself.
I think I've told you about. Well, I've told you a lot about my friend Steve. He was the one who was with me. He was my wingman on that ill-fated night in Versailles, Ohio, with the young lady who took me to meet her father.
And then announced that she did not like the company of men.
She was confused about
I think she was not so much confused as she was afraid that her father would be mad at her. But go ahead.
Be that as it may. Steve is left-handed, born left-handed. His father tried to force him to be right-handed, and he grew up in a rural part of Michigan. So can you guess why his father was so adamant that he not be left-handed?
Something about machinery, like driving a tractor?
Something about guns.
Oh.
Because the shells eject on the right side for right-handed shooters. All right? Shotguns, handguns, whatever. Okay. So if you're left-handed, the shell can eject and come back and hit you in the chest or in the face. So his father had determined that the world was set up, as it is, for right-handed people, and no son of his was going to be some a-hole lefty. So tried desperately for years to make him right-handed, and I don't think Steve ever forgave him, because had he just been able to develop his left, he's a good athlete, could have played baseball, been a good lefty, but he got screwed up at an early age trying to develop his right hand instead, which did make him somewhat, of a good two-way like basketball player and stuff, but had he just worked on that left arm, oof.
Could have been amazing.
I prayed for a left-handed boy.
And look what you have
Did you literally pray?
I literally prayed for a left-handed boy.
Look at that, and God was smiling down on you.
I think you can will things into the universe. I prayed for a tall left-handed boy, and I got a tall left-handed boy. I did. I said I want a left-hander, and then I got a left-hander.
Someone who could strike it rich in the majors, and
no, I didn't. That wasn't that full of hubris. I just wanted to. I thought it would be cool to have a tall left-handed kid, and see if he would have a passion for baseball. And then look what I had.
Mm-hmm.
I willed it into existence.
How is Milo's shoulder?
It's good. The rest is all he needed. He got up to 82.
So now he's back. He's back at it.
Nice.
Yeah, he got
82 miles an hour at the age of 16.
Going into his sophomore year, yes, he's throwing 82 miles. He was clocked at 82. He was sitting high 70s, early 80s, and low 80s. But he needed rest because that was like 8 to 10 miles an hour on his fastball just for sitting out, not pitching for a month. Because when you grow like that, apparently, like your muscles fatigue around the ligaments in your shoulder, and it goes like that. Because he grew like 4 inches this last year.
The only thing I've ever consistently prayed for is world peace. And look how that's working out for us, huh?
Yeah, you know what I haven't prayed for? Congress to get it together.
Well, that prayer's been answered, Fred.
All right, so we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Maybe not.
Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox are one game out of a playoff spot. They beat Texas again last night, 9-4 at Fenway Park. Tanner Houck faces the Rangers tonight as the Sox go for a 3-game sweep. James Paxton may miss the rest of the season. An MRI revealed a torn right calf muscle. The regular season is over, by the way, 6 weeks from Sunday. Patriots, by all accounts, had a tough day yesterday during a joint practice with the Philadelphia Eagles. The two teams will take a break today and then play an exhibition game at Gillette Stadium tomorrow night. And the Celtics received their 4-game group play schedule for the Emirates NBA Cup yesterday. They have home games against Atlanta and Cleveland and road games against Washington and Chicago. The full 2024-2025 NBA schedule is due as soon as tomorrow. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by East Coast Metal Roofing, the official roofing partner of the Boston Celtics. Mention 98.5 The Sports Hub and get 10% off your new roof. Visit eastcoastmetalroofing.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
So when I was doing nights at 92.1 The Edge in Lansing, East Lansing, Fred, the station that told you stunk. You'd never have a job in radio.
Yeah, they were right.
Had to do the top 10 at 10. And that was the 10 most requested songs of the day, counted down in order. And as you well know, especially at a small radio station, there was no comprehensive record keeping of requests that came in during the day. So if you're sitting in there and you're the guy on at 10 o'clock every night, you just came up with 10 songs to play, preferably new or recurrent songs that would end up being the top 10 of the day. And I was such a Soundgarden fan, and that song was new, that I made Spoon Man the number one song. I believe it went on for 2 straight weeks before the program director said, look, I know it's all BS, but you have to change up the number one song. I understand you're a big Soundgarden fan, but the fact that he was even listening actually made me feel good. He was listening at 10 o'clock at night.
We did something very cool at my station that at 9 o'clock on Wednesdays, we did a thing where if a band came in, we would have them go, here's a song from us and like say what the song is about. And then here's a song from a band I really like and why I like the song. It was actually really good. And they could play anything. Like the dude from Cake played I Fell in Love with the Girl, or a White Stripes song before that Fell in Love with the Girl album came out.
Oh. So
it was like I'd Like You Better If You Were a Boy or something like that. It was one of the songs that came out before it. And so I know that Dave Grohl put the Bombs Over Baghdad by Outkast there. So I remember it. It was really a good break. But the thing was, we didn't have enough to do 52 of them. I mean, there wasn't 52 bands that we got in touch with that came in and taped it.
Yeah.
So it became just anything that I wanted to play. And so I just started to think of the most offensive to the ears things that I could play. Like No Means No and all this in like
Big Dumb Face.
Shellac. I would just play this horrible crap. And then I would just realize there were swears. But you want to talk about people not listening. Yeah. I mean, my program director never said anything except for when I played Straight Edge. And there's a very, Mackay says a very pronounced loud swear with no music in the background. And then my program director was like, maybe you should stop doing that.
Yeah.
And then I did Mandatory Metallica, and Dyer's Eve was the only song by them I really liked. So one was a request, and the other one was just whatever was supposed to be played. I might have played Dyer's Eve. And we did Mandatory Metallica every night.
Oh, yeah.
So I might have played Dyer's Eve legit in the 2 years I did nights, maybe 150 times.
Yeah, 6 p.m. in Vegas was Mandatory Metallica, 6 p.m.
Yeah, we did a little later. I think we did it at 8.
I fell asleep one night doing an overnight at the Planet in Detroit. I was doing, the Saturday 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift just to get it on my resume, just to work in a major market. I'd come down from Lansing after working all week and do that Saturday overnight, and I had to play the public affairs show on a reel-to-reel. And some jackass put, like, a camping mattress in the studio, probably for doing overnights, and just left it in there. I'm like, oh, that looks really good. So 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., it's like, you're halfway done at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's just brutal. But the public affairs show started at either 5 or 6, and it was a 30-minute show on reel-to-reel. So I put the show on. I'm like, I'm just going to lay down on this camping mattress and just close my eyes for a second. I think it was at 6 a.m., and I woke up to the sound of and it was just the tape had trailed out, and I look at the clock, it's 7 a.m. So the thing ended at 6:30, and there was dead air for 30 minutes between 6:30 and 7. Now, all the request lines were just blowing up, right? And I looked at them like, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. I just quick press play on whatever song was right there is probably Black Hole Sun, because we literally played that 85 times a week on that radio station. 85 times a week.
And that's not even the best song there, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like that's like heavy for a top 40 rotation. This is supposed to be an alternative station, and that's it. I'm fired. I worked here for a month. I'm fired. I won't even get to put this on my resume. Never heard a word. The PD, the APD, the music director. That's back when rock stations had like 3 people in charge of programming. Not one of them were on the air, and nobody ever said a word to me. Didn't care.
Oh, I've told this story many times on the air, but I'll tell it again. Sean Demery was doing afternoons when I was basically the secretary for the program department, and he started to get into this groove where he didn't want to do the show. He was also music director, back when they had offices, and he would play Doom, and so he would just go ahead and do my show. And 99X was this huge radio station. It was like a big deal. So I went from not being on the air really at all to doing the afternoon shift on a fairly regular basis.
That's great.
And the first or probably the second time I ever did afternoons, we used CDs back then, and it was a CD single.
Yeah.
CD single. So you just put it into the CD player,
Oh, no.
track 1, and there you go.
Oh, no.
Well, I was supposed to play Blink-182, and so I put Blink-182 in, and I played the first track, and it was the track off one of their hit albums where it was just swears, where it goes, C, F, P, C, sucker,
Right.
da, da, da. And it played, and then the last line is, I effed your mom. It's just swears.
Did you play the whole thing?
I played the whole thing. Well, the whole thing's only,
man.
25 seconds.
Yeah.
I played the whole thing, and then I sat there, and I waited, and I looked at the phone, and I waited, and nothing happened.
This is afternoons?
This is 2:30 in the afternoon.
Wow.
On a huge radio station, number 1 radio station.
Oh, 99X was huge.
Yeah, a number 1 radio station, and no one cared.
That's great. Oh.
And that was the South, and no one cared.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you got away with one there, Freddie. All right, Brandon
Well,
Aiyuk.
I mean, if I was the program director, I would have been like, what were they going to? I mean, now that I look back at it, I would have gone, I'm not firing this kid. He made an honest mistake.
Yeah. And plus, why is he in there doing the show anyway? Where is my afternoon drive guy?
I got to give it to Sean. That was very nice of him. Sean unfortunately passed away, but he was very instrumental. He was the one who said, call yourself Toucher. He said, call yourself Toucher. And I said, all right, Shawnee, I will do so. Go ahead.
Brandon Aiyuk. Well, what's the latest? It appears that there is a deal in place with the Pittsburgh Steelers regarding a contract offer for Brandon Aiyuk. Deal is waiting for the 49ers to give the final sign-off. The latest I heard on this was that the Steelers didn't want to part with any current player.
Yeah, the deal with this is annoying. There's 2 holdouts going on right now of note. One is Reddick in New York, which is funny because the Jets traded for this defensive end that is a very good defensive pass rusher from the Eagles that wanted to leave the Eagles because he didn't have a contract extension. So the Jets traded a defensive end for him that the Eagles then gave a new contract to, and then they got Reddick. So I don't know why they traded for Reddick when they weren't going to give him an extension. So Reddick's holding out, but he has 0 leverage because no team's going to trade for him. And so he's holding out. But what, John?
Oh, I would just information about Reddick. Apparently, the Jets knew that he wanted a new deal.
Yeah.
Before making the deal, they knew there was a danger of a holdout when they traded for him, and they still made the deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that he was holding out with the Eagles. It was really dumb. But then again, Reddick has no. I mean, he's lost. I think he's due to make $14 million this year. I think he's lost $1 million already, and the Jets can fine him as much as they want. It's $50,000 a practice, and that adds up. And then they can start fining him, I think within $300,000 a day at a certain point, so they can just take all his money away. And by the way, if he doesn't play, they have his rights for next season. So he has nothing he can do, and I don't think a team is going to go, oh, hey, let me give you stuff so I can go take this older player and give him a bunch of money. I don't think that's going to happen. So Reddick, that's interesting to me because he's just in such a bad position. And it's also interesting to me because why did Joe Douglas make that trade? But anyway, the Aiyuk thing is, I don't know. Aiyuk just seems to want to stay in San Francisco. He doesn't seem to want to leave because it was reported like a week ago that maybe like the end of last week about that the deal with the Steelers was done. I heard a report from an NFL writer that said like the deal with the Steelers is done. The San Francisco has agreed to it. Like everything's in place and the deal's done. And then it didn't happen because I remember I said it and then I think Ryan Johnson gave me like a look like he didn't think I was right and I wasn't right, but I was just repeating what I had read. When I say heard, people think that I say I'm talking to someone. Heard could mean on the radio. But I heard someone say it like on a podcast or something. I know that
Joe Murray.
I haven't listened to a podcast, a sports podcast, maybe ever. So so it just seems like he wouldn't come to the Patriots, who offered him more money than anyone else. Then he expressed interest in going to the Steelers, but either he or the 49ers won't pull the trigger on this thing. It just seems like this is all a big to-do so he can end up staying in San Francisco.
Sounds like San Francisco is ready to go, by all indications. It sounds like they like the draft. They like the compensation they're getting from the Patriots, from Cleveland, from Pittsburgh. No, this is all about Aiyuk wanting to get a new deal and stay there. I mean,
which is really odd. It's just really odd that this is the way he's playing this thing.
And according to what Breer says, it's the same issue that it was in New England, which has a lot of other issues. But whether you're talking about Cleveland or New England or Pittsburgh, it is the lack of geographic appeal, which goes back to what you said. Like if you're Brandon Aiyuk and you just like being in San Francisco and playing in California, no, what you want me to go to Pittsburgh? I want to go to Pittsburgh and play. I want to go to New England or Cleveland.
If he won't go to Pittsburgh, then I don't want him on my team.
Of course not. You don't.
If you won't
guys
play
are
for
willing
Tomlin,
to. This is the league where it's not supposed to matter. Guys will go play in Green Bay, where there's nothing else going on because you get to play with the Packers and hopefully a good team. It's not supposed to matter at least as much in the NFL.
But that's the thing. Pittsburgh, and Fred's right, Pittsburgh's the epitome of stability. I mean, the Patriots are in a bad way right now, a really bad way right now, and Cleveland has been all over the place for how many years? Pittsburgh will always have Tomlin as the coach. Pittsburgh will always be in the hunt for a playoff spot.
And you're a god there. Like, why would you not want to play in Pittsburgh? If you play football
and you're a legend,
that's exactly where you would want to play.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a player not wanting to play in Pittsburgh? I'm sure it's happened, but that's not something you hear about. I mean, that organization, as you said, is so consistent. You're a god there. It's not a bad place to live. It's a good place to live. What the hell do you want? I'd much rather live in Pittsburgh than San Francisco. But whatever. That's my own personal opinion. I don't want a football player on my team that won't play in Pittsburgh. I don't want one. That's a dream scenario. You're a made man, and the national brand of the Steelers. That's an insane brand. You get that on you. I mean, me and Joe Green still does stuff. I mean, he came on our show a couple years ago, pimping something. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer out of Pittsburgh. They still talk about it.
I don't know if this is what is Brandon Aiyuk's issue with it, but most recently saw it with Tyreek Hill, who was most excited to play for the Dolphins because he got to live in Miami.
Yeah, but it's tax free there, and he was from there. Like, I understand that that was the destination he wanted to go to. It's different. Like Tyreek Hill wanted to play in Miami.
Xing someone off the list because you don't like the town.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I even understand that. I just don't get Pittsburgh. Like, you get to play for the Steelers. That's unbelievable. I mean, you've had 3 coaches in the last 78 years.
Yeah, Tomlin is a good to great head coach.
And the players all love him. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Our anniversary, it's the last day that we'll celebrate as they've organized champagne bottles to show everyone what a celebration it was. All right, we'll be back.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, football getting closer and closer. Time to get in on the action.
We are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube, and you can check us out, 617-779-0985. Yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the start of 98.5 The Sports Hub, and this is the last day we're going to do this, but the station has been releasing videos. They're and you know me, I'm not one to throw out praise, but the videos on YouTube are pretty good. They look like
really
real
well
documentaries.
Well,
yes,
yeah.
I agree. They look like real documentaries. So if you're one of the 304 people watching our YouTube stream right now, as I just went to YouTube, maybe you can get on this.
Yeah.
But if you search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube, the videos are up there.
Before we get to the latest anniversary celebration, can we just revisit what happened a few moments ago?
Sure. The Jets traded for this defensive end that is a very good defensive pass rusher from the Eagles that wanted to leave the Eagles because he didn't have a contract extension. So the Jets traded a defensive end for him. So I don't know why they traded for Reddick when they weren't going to give him an extension. So Reddick's holding out, but he has zero leverage because no team's going to trade for him. What, John?
Oh, I would just information about Reddick. Apparently, the Jets knew that he wanted a new deal. Before making the deal, they knew there was a danger of a holdout when they traded for him, and they still made the deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's you notice I didn't get all over him.
No, you didn't. I was wondering why that was in the moment.
Yeah, I let Johnny
Fred's
slide a
letting
little
me
bit.
go. How about that? Making that mistake.
It's funny. The station put up a video about Deflategate, and I'm not featured in it, which I'm very happy about because I think my terms was I hated it. I hated that. I hated
Actually, I
Deflategate.
think those were the first words that Bertrand said leading off the whole thing.
Oh, that he hated it too?
I think so, yes. If I remember right.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated
None of
it.
us were big fans because that was about 8
Felger
months.
loved it.
Well, yeah.
They couldn't get enough. Him and Maz.
I hated it. I hated listening about it. It was just insufferable. It was the worst. The ideal gas law. Boy, did I hate that. All right, anyway, I'm on a tangent.
Here
All
we
right.
go.
All right. What memory do you have for us today, Hardy?
We're going to go back to Memorial Day weekend. I don't know the year that this took place. It was probably right about 2014. Felger and Maz were at the Ace Ticket Studio by Fenway Park doing a Friday show, and everything went down. The show ceased to broadcast from the Ace Ticket Studio. About 3:45 on Friday afternoon. Obviously, it's a home Red Sox series, Memorial Day weekend, big goings on in town. The people in town and in for the game, and there was a bit of panic that set in because they couldn't bring them up in any way, shape, or form. So they had to, after trying to fix it for a couple of minutes, decide the best thing to do would just be come back to the radio station in Brighton and do the show from there. James Stewart, as you can well imagine, was one of only a few people still in the office at almost 4 o'clock on a Friday of Memorial Day weekend. Did what any producer would do, which is just play the commercials for that hour and then started playing them for the next hour just to have something on the air. Otherwise, you just got to play music. You got to do something. Can't do anything. And after this was pretty much exhausted, he came into the back studio. He said, "Oh, Hardy, you're here."
Yeah.
And I was still there working. He said,
Yeah.
"Could you go on and fill until Felger and Maz get back?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll just go on." And there's no one. I think Billy Lanny was there, but he hadn't done a lot on the air yet, so it was just me in the studio and no breaks because he had already blown through the commercials. So I went on the air at about 4 o'clock. It took those guys forever to make it from Fenway back to Brighton because
Holiday weekend. Yep.
traffic was absolute murder. They just couldn't get back there, couldn't get back on Storo, couldn't take Comm Ave back. It was a mess. So I did a little bit of everything. Talk some golf, talk some open wheel coming to Boston, Formula One.
Sure.
Scott and Rentham called in maybe more than once. Had to fill 40 minutes solo, no commercials. And when Felger got back to the studio, he wasn't happy about it. So this is the memory from that time.
What are you doing to this program?
Yeah, saving it, and delivering you the highest ratings you will experience all ratings book long.
That 5 minutes I just listened to, you just set the Felger and Maserati program back about, 15 years.
You know
what?
what?
We're talking about IndyCar racing?
I've already
What about the 3-4?
Sure.
Are we talking about the 3-4, the 4-3 defense?
I tell you what, and I'm not.
It was almost the Jimmy and Billy show.
Yeah. I am not afraid to admit that I have saved that pathetic television program of yours now on numerous occasions.
What did you just do to us?
And now
you just killed us.
I've actually given you listenable radio for 45 minutes.
We have good ratings. People listen to this program.
Now you have great ratings.
You can't come on here at 4:30 in drive time and talk about the 3-4. What are we doing here?
Hey,
to do that 3-4 hand in the dirt stuff on your time at 10 to 2. That's a 10 to 2 topic. We don't do 3-4 versus 4-3 on drive time radio.
Jackass.
What are you,
it's
nuts?
Agenda free. It's your own name.
Oh my God.
Let's hit the
what did you just do? What have you done to our show?
This is Felger's way of saying thank you. Thank you for providing quality radio on the Friday afternoon.
God, how many times did you like Zoe on?
Memorial Day weekend, when there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. Of course, I want to stick at work for lots longer and go solo on the air with no commercial breaks.
Let's talk about Formula One. Here.
Is that your way of saying thank you?
What else were you doing? You're still on the clock. What, did you come back? Is this pro bono? Are you not charging the station for this?
It's so funny you would ask. Producing your Friday final word bit like I do every week. So you're welcome again.
Well, no, I'll thank you for that. That's pretty solid. But the material we give you on a weekly basis, that's hardly work.
I honestly believe that you are one of the most despicable human beings I have ever worked with, come across,
I'm just
had the displeasure of knowing.
I'm flabbergasted what you just did to our program. You just ground this program to a halt.
You suck on 8 levels of life. Honestly.
It was almost Doug Gottlieb.
Felger, name your friends. Go. You can't. Nobody likes you.
See, this is where I.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, you were trying to joke around at first, but you were getting pissed.
Yeah.
It's funny how much you guys have shifted. Like, I don't think Felger would ever be that big a dick now. And there's no way Hardy would be that restrained.
I know. There was that 30 seconds where he was trying to be funny. And then there was that line where he snapped.
You stopped it, not me. Did you at first think he was kidding?
Yeah, at first, but he wasn't.
Because he was being such a dick that you were like, "There's no way he's being this big a dick."
He
That's
wouldn't
what
let
happened
it
with
go.
Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
Like there will be times that people are like such dicks that I always think they're kidding.
Jim Schwartz was in Indianapolis where you ran into him and he was a dick at first. You're like, oh, he must be kidding. But no, he really, when Schwartz was a defensive coordinator for whatever
I ended up interviewing him,
Yeah.
and then I realized at the end he wasn't joking about.
He was that big an ass. Yeah.
But the interview was fine. But before the interview, I thought he was being such a dick that I was like, he must be being sarcastic.
Right. But the difference is you didn't snap. Hardy snapped immediately.
Oh, no, I've snapped it. Believe me.
No, but in that instance.
It's about a minute in. And
come across.
I'm just
had the displeasure of knowing.
I'm flabbergasted what you just did to our program. You just ground this program to a halt.
You suck on 8 levels of life. Honestly.
It was almost Doug Gottlieb.
Felger, name your friends. Go. You can't. Nobody likes you. And this is why.
Or the Jimmy Stewart show.
You make it impossible to like you.
But they do listen from 2 to 6.
Personally or professionally.
Because we don't entertain the are they going to 3-4.
Next time we'll just have dead air.
We say call at 10 o'clock and let Zoe talk about the zero set with
Next time we'll just have dead air or play the Grateful Dead. You Trustafarian, hippie wannabe, rich kid wannabe selling grilled cheeses in the parking lot and taking nitrous balloons, jackass.
Do you hear what this guy's been doing to our program, Miss?
What's that?
Hardy, thank you.
You're welcome.
What year was that?
14, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, because Felger would never be that brazen about ratings and like be seeing you. Or,
Maybe 8 years ago.
He wouldn't be. I don't think that Felger would like whip it on the table like that about ratings anymore.
No.
Because that is like very arrogant.
Yeah, this is relatively. We're about 5 years in at this point.
Yeah.
So we had been number one, but it was a recent thing.
Yeah.
And so Felger was panic-stricken that somehow you had ruined everything in 40 minutes.
Yeah, he was like holding that to be very precious. I think that he's been in radio long enough now that he knows you can't. First of all, Hardy did him a favor, and second of all, you can't be that precious about like 45 minutes of your show. Get the F out of here.
Yeah,
it's just brain surgery. There's not someone at a table who's got like 2 hours to live. I mean, all right, so Hardy talked for 45 minutes. You should be happy. And he went in without being able to prepare.
It was almost Doug Gottlieb.
It was almost
Felger,
Doug
name
Gottlieb.
your friends. Go. You can't. Nobody likes you.
So,
did you ever talk about this afterwards?
So, I remember it was back at the time, I think it was Town Fair Tires, Sports Tonight or whatever. They had me on either that night or the next night with Felger, just the two of us. And they re-racked that because it was on TV also. And they just played it back with the two of us sitting there. And again, Fred, perfect example. At the time, I felt bad about it. I said, that wasn't my finest moment. But having said that, I stand by everything I said. I wasn't going to back down.
Why would you be upset about what you did? You didn't do anything wrong. And by the way, I like how they had you on the TV show because it's like much easier to deal with someone in a situation like that when you're in front of live microphones. Like it would be much more difficult for Felger to like come up to you behind the scenes and apologize.
I think it was
or the Jimmy Stewart show.
You make it impossible to like you.
But they do listen from 2 to 6.
Personally or professionally.
Because
I would have gone even crazier.
The whole rich kid.
A zero set with
Next time we'll just have Dead Air or play the Grateful Dead. You Trustafarian, hippie wannabe, rich kid wannabe selling grilled cheeses in the parking lot and taking nitrous balloons, jackass.
Stuck the landing.
No, nothing you said. Nothing you said. If I was Felger listening back to this now, nothing that you said would have upset me. What would have upset me is the going like we get ratings. That would have been Like I remember when. Like things don't work out for you when you go against the show. It's like, all right, dude. All right, Gabe, go ahead. I mean, it's happened with us.
Fred, real quick. Yesterday, when they were talking about like the anniversary and everything, Felger took out a notebook and he showed that he keeps the ratings, what he gets for ratings, like every month or whenever it comes out, and he's documented it since the show started.
Okay, but does he? I know. Okay, so he keeps like a list of like where they were in the ratings, and he has it like handy.
Yeah, like he knows, and and Mads and Maury said they do it on Excel, but Felger did say like, he made it in a way that he has made it in a way that like you guys know on the top show. Not saying it that way, but saying like, we're the number one show in the afternoon in the world. Not world.
Well, they're the number one show in the afternoon. There's no question about it. I'm talking about more, Gabe, that like I don't think that he would use his ratings as like an arguing point against someone.
Freddie, he gets the highest ratings. He would use that in a second if it was an argument against like someone saying, like another host, like saying your takes are awful, like you don't get, your listeners. Felger would be like, look at the ratings, like that's all he would have to say.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it might be a defensive thing because Felger gets told all the time, and people tell you too, Fred. It's like, I can't stand Felger. He sucks. They've been the top afternoon show for so many years. At some point, what else do you have to say? If everyone hates him so much, how do you explain that? So whether it's you defending the show or if it's Felger defending himself, that's a pretty good thing to fall back on. I might keep track of it too.
I mean, I definitely know how we've done. I don't have it like written down.
No, I've never written down the ratings, but
I don't. Do I? Well, John would know. How often do I use the ratings as a defense?
Never.
Yeah, I don't like doing that.
I can't remember the last time you did.
Because it's so
But
arbitrary.
you go on social and you talk about it.
No, I didn't. No, you notice that stopped.
If I once a show, I can get an audible laugh like that out of Fred.
No.
I've done my
was
personal
no fan of
friendship job for the day.
Yeah,
Not the job, but just between us job.
I can sometimes do that in his headphones, and he gets I get a head nod and a
No, that especially, I did not like that. Like, I'm not even being a dick. I did not like that at all. I didn't like it at all.
Uncomfortable.
Well, my name was on it too, so people probably thought it was me. They probably would think it was partly me. I did not like that at all. No. I know why it started is because of the EEI stuff, but then then I was like, okay. But then after that, it should have gone away, but it didn't.
But you're right, Fred. Now I listen back to that, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I didn't even really go after him. Not like I would now.
No, not like you would now. No, I can assure you, you would have been worse now.
Fred,
Yeah, go ahead.
You have a rant that I don't know if it made the cut, the one against Kirk. That one in the morning. I don't know if we're going to use that or not use that, but that's easily as good as what we just played from Hardy.
Yeah, Kirk and I had a good back and forth.
That was
a
funny.
classic. It was funny, and
that was a great competition.
If we don't use it, I personally would like to use it at some
I'm not
point.
going to play it.
It's a little late for this, John. We've been producing and coming up with these
Darn
anniversary bits for a week.
No, but when Kirk and Callahan were on, that was a great rivalry on the radio.
It was great.
It was a great rivalry. That was a good one.
Little boy, stop trying to play with me.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
I don't know.
Yes.
What are you going to do? They had some good stuff against us. We had some good stuff against them. It was a good rivalry. All right, we'll be back. Mark Daniels will join us in just a moment. Toucher and Hardy. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Mark Daniels covers the Patriots for MassLive.com. He's kind enough to join us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. And let me tell you this before I do that. I apologize. I didn't get to it before. I'll be listening at 7:55 this morning for your chance to score a pair of tickets to Ice Cube's Big 3 basketball championship game this Sunday at TD Garden. Win a pair of tickets to see Gary Payton's Bivouacs take on Michael Cooper's Three's Company this Sunday at the TD Garden. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. That's coming up at 7:55. Mark Daniels. Hello, sir.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Hey, Mark.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to talk to you. All right. How bad was the joint practice yesterday? We're hearing all different things. What was your take? What did you walk away with?
Yeah, it was bad. Some of the worst I've seen, I guess. I was disappointing. It's, Drake May starts off, 10-10, but that included one 7-on-7 period and one 11-on-11 period. Jacoby Brissett was 10 of 11. So my first reaction was, wow, the offense isn't as bad as I thought they were. And really, it was. And the wheels just absolutely came off. I mean, Drake May was sacked 6 times on his last 9 dropbacks.
God.
It was that bad. Like even Jacoby Brissett's 2-minute drill, he got to the 8-yard line, but it ended 3 incompletions and a sack, and it just was like, guys aren't getting open. The offensive line isn't pass protecting, but it wasn't like it was bad, but not horrible. And I'm talking like the first team offense, the second team offense. It was truly, truly awful. Putrid, some of the worst I've seen in a joint practice. I mean, it was 4 snaps in his Drake's 2-minute drill, and he got sacked 3 times, including on 3rd and 4th down. Guys, so bad. I should come up with more examples, but just trust me on this. It was really, really bad, and I'm concerned about, was it tomorrow night with Drake May, and I would argue the Patriots should play him against the starting offensive line because right now the backup offensive line is just terrible.
All right, let me, because sacks come in different ways.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson got sacked all the time, and his offensive line used to be furious because they'd be like, it's not our fault. Were these Drake May holding on to the ball too long, or were these just, Donnie Brooks that he couldn't get away from?
Yeah, he was running for his life almost as soon as the ball was snapped. And what he was since he has a red jersey on and they can't tackle him, he was just trying to run, out the pocket. But there were referees there who were sort of marking where he was sacked, but he had just no chance. And it was, I guess it's sort of a combination too, guys, of the Patriots don't have guys who are getting open that quickly, and that's bad when your offensive line can't pass protect for long. So really just a recipe for disaster to end that joint practice against a really talented Eagles team. And even looking at the Eagles roster, I'm like, wow, this team is just really loaded compared to what we see on the Patriots roster. And at the end of practice, it was just very evident, sort of where one franchise is and where the other is.
I've heard arguments all week. Scott Zolak's been at the front of this. You can't get better as a quarterback unless you play. But do you think Drake May is safe behind the first-team offensive line? Is he safe enough to play him extended snaps tomorrow night?
Yeah, if it's the first-team offensive line, and and your 2 best guys are David Andrews and Mike Uwenu, I'd feel way more comfortable. And just, I'll be honest, it's disappointing for a couple of reasons because it wasn't like Elliott Wolf didn't do anything this offseason. I mean, he brought in Chuk Okorafor, who really the tackle market was kind of bad. I mean, honestly, they also wanted Mike Uwenu to be tackle, and that's not happening, which is sort of another storyline here. But then they drafted, Caden Wallace in the 3rd round and a tackle, and then a guard, Layden Robinson, in the 4th round. Now, Wallace and Robinson, their 2 draft picks, are in the second-team offensive line with 3 other guys who have started NFL games, Nick Leverett, Michael Jordan, and Calvin Anderson. So, on paper, that shouldn't be bad for a second-team offensive line. 3 veterans and 2 draft picks, but it's so bad that I think he would be safe with the first team just because they've clearly been better.
Yeah, it seems like David Andrews was alluding to, some of the issues that they're dealing with and how they're going to, fix things going forward. But it's this slippery slope you go down. If you're talking about being able to protect your quarterback, you start thinking about, well, who's going to be, we think we all know who's going to be the starters, but who's going to be the backup, and how are you going to facilitate this should something happen. The offensive line isn't able to protect them against good pass rushes and good defense because, just because someone is in there as backup doesn't mean they won't be called into service much earlier than anticipated, and that's where things get really dicey.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me to think too, like the last 2 years, the Patriots offensive line has given up a lot of sacks. I believe the last 2 years was around like 40 sacks in 2023 and 2022. And I think that clear and obvious issue was tackle, which is why, Mike Uwenu was moved sort of reluctantly by Bill Belichick last fall. And I thought that solved some issues. And like, I guess we haven't talked to Elliot Wolf since April, and he hasn't talked since appearing on like a podcast in May. But he even said like, "Oh, we signed what we thought was the best tackle in free agency in Mike Uwenu." And I'd love to talk to him again and be like, "All right, so you had what you thought was the best free agent tackle. Why did you change that to all of a sudden it's Chukwuezeokorafor, who was benched last year in Pittsburgh, and Vidarian Lowe, who was a backup last year? Like it's just not a great place to be in, and it just seems like what the offense's Achilles heel was, like truly, like pass protection is the same thing this year. I mean, there's obviously time for them to play better and prove me wrong, but I think it's a major concern, and really it also points to you need to start Jacoby Brissett this year and get that right before you start Drake May.
Ultimately, Mark, that putting the offense aside, I'm looking for positives here. The defense specifically, I'm wondering how A.J. Brown and Christian Gonzalez, that matchup looked, because A.J. Brown had a lot of positive things to say about Gonzalez after the practice was over.
Every time I looked over to the defensive side of the field, A.J. Brown, it was like he was catching something. I mean, the Patriots really didn't slow him down, honestly. Now, Jabril Pepper said after practice, well, if he caught those balls, I hit pretty hard, and maybe we could jar a couple loose. But I thought in one-on-ones, like Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown really took it to Christian Gonzalez. They beat him 3 out of 4 times.
That's really bad news.
I Christian 1 out of 4.
He's supposed to, because Christian Gonzalez is supposed to be.
He's supposed to be far and away their best guy.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the future. Oh boy.
Oh man.
Mike Pellegrino, the cornerback coach, said, I don't put a lot of stock in the one-on-one, and he said it favors the receivers, and maybe it does, but I'll say, like, as someone who watched Stephon Gilmore and Darrelle Revis, like, those guys didn't want to get beat in any situation in practice, and I just wonder if Christian Gonzalez is wired a little differently, So maybe he turns it on. I know Karen Gregan, my colleague, wrote this the other day that he hasn't had the best camp, and it has been a little disappointing the amount of catches he's given up, even in team drills against his own teammates and Jacoby Brissett. So, yeah, I mean, the Patriots need him to really turn it on. I mean, right now, Jonathan Jones, the number 2 cornerback, is injured, and, their second cornerback has been like Marco Wilson or Alex Austin. So there's some question marks there on defense.
Okay, I want to stick with this Christian Gonzalez thing because this is the first I'm hearing about it, which is why we have guys like Mark Daniels on that are there at camp. All right, so Christian Gonzalez is, first round pick, it was playing very well his rookie year by all accounts, then got hurt. Mm-hmm. Now he's back. Now the book on Christian Gonzalez about why he lasted as long as he did in the first round was that he was not a fan of contact. We saw that like in a game, but it was nitpicking. It was one play where he was kind of like chucked out of bounds. And now you're saying that you've seen Stephon Gilmore, who's a borderline Hall of Famer, Darrelle Revis, who is a Hall of Famer. Darrelle Revis might be best cornerback of all time for when he was in his prime. You've seen those guys play, and you see something different. He doesn't have that like alpha thing. He's not. Does it go along in your mind with that lack of physicality? Kind of talk a little bit more about Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if he, in like the one-on-one drills, sometimes it seems like he lets up, or like he just, I don't want to say the word like gives up, but like sometimes I'm like, did he give up on that rep? Is he putting in maximum effort, on this practice play? And it's tough because like there was one day at one-on-ones this week, I want to say he went 0 for 3, and listen, he's losing the guys in the Patriots receivers. I think it was like Jalen Polk and Jalen Reagor and Javon Baker. And I'm like, what's going on with Christian Gonzalez? Is this just the thing where he like doesn't turn it completely on until Sundays? Because he's given up a lot of catches, and a lot of touchdowns, and the Patriots don't have a number 1 receiver. And his job this year will be to cover number 1 receivers. And I do think it's been an underrated storyline this year is that, hey, Christian Gonzalez doesn't look like a world beater right now. And he looks different than he did the first 4 games last year, which again makes me goes back to wonder, like, is it in this sort of mindset approach? Because one of the knocks on him coming out of college was, he doesn't always look like he has that alpha mentality. What was it, like Mike Tomlin and the Steelers? They didn't think he, like, would give, he was like an alpha, basically. I forget the quote or the report out there about him, but I'm like, I kind of see that in practice. So, yeah, some doom and gloom here, guys, but there have been some positives, like,
Where? Where? It's been we've got nothing but, and this is not you, it just seems that the news is all bad. I'm just wondering, how much has the last couple of days or the last week altered your outlook of the team? They go to camp, you say, okay, maybe they're a 6-win team, whatever. How much has your outlook for the team changed in the last week?
It's changed a couple wins. I thought 6 wins, 7 if they're lucky, and I'm back down to 4 again. I'm not seeing it right now between their pass catchers and offensive line, and even some of the injuries on defense. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to win more than 4 games, and I think this is truly a massive rebuild, and they're slow playing it. Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo said they're a draft and develop team. Well, guys, you better hope that Jalen Polk, Drake May, Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson, and Javon Baker hit, because their path to relevancy is really in Drake May and Jalen Polk. But if I was to give you one giant positive, I think Jalen Polk's legit. He's been really consistent, really good. I'm a nerd who adds up stats in training camp, and through like 13 days of camp, Jalen Polk had the most catches in team drills, and he doesn't make mistakes. He gets open. He's reliable in the red zone. I want to say, like, I've been trying to think of, like, who's the best rookie receiver I've seen in camp, and I think last year it was probably like Demario Douglas. Like, he's very clearly had it, and I think Jalen Polk's right up there, with how good he is. So I'd say one of my giant positives right now is I think Jalen Polk is a hit in the second round, and Patriots better hope that Drake May is too if they want to turn this thing around.
Okay, I just very briefly, Mayo put the word out that any starter who gets in a fight, they're going to play in the preseason game. Any non-starter, they're not going to play. You saw the fight yesterday. Did you readily identify anybody who's going to be held accountable for that?
Yeah, that'll be interesting because Josh Uche was right in the middle of it. It was this special teams drill where, like, Raekwon McMillan popped the kickoff returner for the Eagles, and the Eagles were mad, and they were, like, screaming across the sideline. They were going to do the same thing. Next rep, Josh Uche gets hit, gets down, and then he gets hit late. And when he got hit late, he immediately popped up and, like, went after the guy. So, hey, if Josh Uche is out there for all 4 quarters, we know Gerard Mayo will be a man of his word, but since he did get hit late, I don't know. Is that self-defense? Well, we'll see. We'll see how Coach Mayo approaches that one.
Well, it's a good precedent to set, to start publicly saying things and then immediately not doing that.
I still think it's funny that the punishment is now you have to play football. They did it to LeGarrette Blount, and who was the other running back that got in trouble with him in Pittsburgh when they got caught, like, I don't know, in possession. I can't remember who, but that was their punishment. Now you guys got to play all 4 quarters of preseason game number 3 or 4 at the time. I'm like, it's an odd thing.
LeGarrette Blount got in trouble. Mark Daniels, very good. Thank you so much. Read all about his experience with the Patriots at masslive.com. Mark, we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
All right, very good. And we got a quote here from Tomlin about just from the Steelers when they passed on Gonzalez and traded up with the Patriots. And also, Greg Bedard was on with Felger and Maz yesterday, giving his thoughts of what was happening at camp. And that Christian Gonzalez thing, that's the first thing I've heard out of camp, where because everything else is kids into the Drake May nonsense. Christian Gonzalez is a big deal. That's a big deal.
They're leaning on him. He's one of the linchpins of the entire defense.
He's like a symbol of your future.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Oh. All right. I was talking to John about this off the air. My feeling on the Patriots is this is good. They put off this rebuild for a long time. It's good that they got rid of Belichick. He couldn't draft, and he's old. And now it's time to move on with a new regime. I don't know how good a coach Mayo is going to be. It's kind of beside the point. He's almost a sacrificial lamb at this point. He's the guy who took over for the guy. It's usually the guy after. He's the David Lee Roth after Howard Stern, and then, whatever follows that has a chance. And so, but that wouldn't concern me as a fan. The reports on Drake May wouldn't concern me if I was a fan. Honestly, they wouldn't. I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter either way. Like, if he was great, it wouldn't matter to me. If he was bad, it wouldn't matter to me. But one thing that you were depending on was your young players being stars or being linchpins in this team. And Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback that you took 2 years ago in the first round, and who, by all accounts, shone in the beginning of last season until he got hurt, hearing that he's been bad in camp and lacking kind of a will is concerning. And there's more evidence of this. Dan sent this to me. The Pittsburgh Steelers, this is from 2023, April 27th. It's after the draft in 2023. Pittsburgh Steelers ended up moving up to pick 14 after trading pick 17 and 120 to the Patriots. There was one surprising name still on the board. Oregon cornerback Christian Gonzalez, a consensus top 10 player in the class. It didn't seem like he was a realistic option for the Steelers, even with a small trade up in mind. They ended up passing up on the talented cornerback, and according to source, it was a poor pre-draft visit with Mike Tomlin that took him off the draft board. When visiting the facility, Tomlin inquired about why the breakout junior transferred to Oregon after beginning his career at Colorado. Gonzalez explained he was simply following his position coach to his new school. Tomlin was hoping to hear him say something along the lines of facing better competition, but was left underwhelmed by Gonzalez's answer. Later that day, Tomlin was then heard telling one of the Steelers stars, Minkah Fitzpatrick, that he didn't think Gonzalez had the competitive edge and that they wouldn't be seeing him again. So if you're wondering why, like me, why they were passed on a talented corner that checks essentially every box that you could possibly look for in a cornerback, that's why. There have been other rumblings about Gonzalez being quieter personality, but there were no character concerns that popped up during the pre-draft process. New England ended up picking the athletic phenom with the Steelers' original selection at pick 17, meaning that Broderick Jones and Christian Gonzalez will forever be linked in NFL history. It will be fascinating to see how it played out. Well, Broderick Jones, the Steelers taking him, screwed the Jets because the Jets would have taken Broderick Jones, I believe, with the next pick. And then Christian Gonzalez, you thought was a great pick at 17, but it was weird that he was around at 17, if you recall that draft.
Very strange that he landed in the Patriots' lap that far down.
Yeah.
And there were rumblings about, not specifically Tomlin, but there were rumblings at the time. Well, there has to be something wrong. The competitive drive, he doesn't want to contact, whatever the case may be.
Those were two of the knocks on him, though.
Yeah.
That was his lack of competitive drive and that he shied away from contact. But except for one play I can think of last year, I think people were coming out and saying that wasn't true, that he didn't look that way.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be, maybe a future Pro Bowler, like a guy that was going to be a key on your defense for the next 8 years.
How much of that highlight reel where he was locking up Tyreek Hill earlier in the season did we see? And we were all shocked that he was able to do that in game 2 or 3 of his career. I hope what we hear happened over the last couple of days is wrong, because if the Patriots can't cover anybody, this whole defense will keep you in games thing is going to be a problem.
Well, I'm not concerned about this year at all.
No,
I don't care.
I just want them to be competitive occasionally.
No, but it's not even about this year. It's that it's about 3 years from now.
Right.
Christian Gonzalez was supposed to be a number one corner, a shutdown corner, 2 or 3 years from now. Like, when you get good, conceivably, when the rebuild has reached the point where you're competitive again, Christian Gonzalez was supposed to be a big part of it. You were supposed to be set at that number one corner position. You probably most likely still are, but the idea that he's not been good at camp is literally the first thing that I've heard that would concern me about the future of the team if I was a Patriots fan. You knew the offensive line was going to suck. The talk about the receivers they drafted has been more positive than I thought it would be. You know the defense is good. They've kept around the players that are going to be a part of it in the future. They're proven. I'm not concerned at all about this year except for how well core pieces play and young people play.
You find people that you want. Yeah, finding people you want to build around.
Yeah, and so that's it.
Other than the people you've already signed to long-term contracts.
Right, and then Christian Gonzalez was one of them. So that's the first piece of news I've heard that would concern me as a Patriots fan.
It's just to see it happen against another team is really it's a slap in the face. I mean, I can't remember the last time we were talking about the Patriots like this. It's been a long time since we've not hopeless, but a big time wake up call as to where this team really is.
Just the notion that they could be completely overmatched on both sides of the ball, going up against, average to above average teams.
Philadelphia is supposed to be at the very least a playoff team in the NFC, and probably
I wouldn't call that. I wouldn't call Philadelphia average. They're better than that. But if they're having this much trouble with that, then you could easily guess that they're going to be in the like we saw last season and couldn't believe our eyes when they were in dogfights, with the Colts, and they were in dogfights with teams that. You kind of circled as wins early on in the season, and that is a 6-0 just slugfest.
And depending upon what happens tomorrow night, maybe things will be different tomorrow night. Maybe Drake May gets out, the offensive line somehow blocks better, but you have to reevaluate how you are going to proceed with Drake May.
If they have a line if they don't have any options that can block, if
you can't stick him out there,
you can't put him out there.
You
for very
can't.
long.
I don't care. You say you have to play to develop him. No, you don't. Not in this case. There is nothing more important this season than developing Drake May.
What's sad is if you don't have a starting offensive line that's serviceable enough to develop your rookie quarterback.
Right, that's how you
in
ruin
the preseason.
A kid. You throw him out there.
But it speaks poorly to management that they couldn't even piece something together to get through 3 series in a preseason game.
And I tell you, Fred, I keep hearing these scenarios about it's like what you could do to get the left tackle of the future and stuff, because you've got David Andrews out there for now. You have at least a veteran centerpiece, but to think that you would go all in on that one left tackle. I like the left tackle idea when the rest of your line is serviceable, and that's the one thing that you're missing.
What, in free agency?
Or in any way for next year's draft.
Well, you got to get a left tackle in next year's draft. Yeah, you got to get a left tackle.
But that one piece is not going to fix your offensive line, and especially when it's not a sure thing.
It's as important as finding a number one receiver for your quarterback.
Yeah, you can get it. I would get
equally
a left
as important.
It's not going to make your line dominant next year, but I mean, you need a left tackle.
You need a guy who you can just set there and leave alone for the next
8 to 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And apparently there is that guy high in the first round next year. So
there usually is. All right, caller number 10 right now to the Sports Hub contest line 617-931-0985 will score a pair of tickets to Ice Cube's Big 3 basketball championship game this Sunday at TD Garden and win a pair of tickets to see Gary Payton's Bivouacs take on Michael Cooper's Three's Company this Sunday at the TD Garden. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com, but caller number 10 wins right now. Okay, so that's been done. I had a friend who, like a month ago, texted me, and he's like, hey, I got tickets to the Big 3 championship in the Garden. Would you like to go?
Hell yeah.
I said, why did you buy tickets to the Big 3 championship? All right, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change, now open in Raynham, Reading, and Braintree.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, 15 years of champions.
The Boston Celtics are world champions.
Thank you, Boston, for making us your home for sports for the past 15 years. WCCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox are now only a game out of a playoff spot after another win over Texas last night, 9-4 at Fenway Park. Cutter Crawford retired the first 16 hitters he faced before he ran into trouble. He still picked up the win. Connor Wong added a 3-run homer. Rob Refsnyder and Nick Sogard added 2 RBIs apiece. Tanner Houck faces the Rangers tonight. James Paxton, meanwhile, may miss the rest of the season after an MRI yesterday revealed a partial tear of his right calf. The regular season is over 6 weeks from Sunday. Turning to football, Patriots had a tough day yesterday as they held a joint practice with Philadelphia. The offense struggled in team periods with pass protection the biggest problem, and Drake May was right in the middle of it in his first NFL action against another team.
Yeah, I think it was fun. Just fun for us as a team to get the hit, put on pads, and hit another team. So that's the best part about it, going against somebody else, suiting up in the same color jerseys, just getting after it. I think a lot to learn.
2 teams will take a break today and then play an exhibition game at Gillette Stadium tomorrow night. Minnesota announced yesterday rookie first-round draft pick J.J. McCarthy needs right knee surgery. He is out indefinitely with a torn meniscus, and the Celtics got their 4-game group play schedule for the Emirates NBA Cup yesterday. They have home games against Atlanta and Cleveland and road games against Washington and Chicago. The first 2024-2025 NBA schedule, the full schedule, is due as soon as tomorrow. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Best Ford. Looking for great deals on new Fords? Go to the Best first. Best Ford of Nashua. Head to bestfordofnashua.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Sports is crazy here.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
I wouldn't want to do it in any other city.
The Celtics on the ball.
Thank you, Boston, for making us your home for sports for the past 15 years. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hi, we are Toucher and Hardy and having some fun on a Wednesday hump day. Scooby-Dooby. This hour of our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch our show every morning on YouTube. Simply search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube, and then you can get involved with the tens of thousands of people watching us every day on YouTube. And it was our anniversary yesterday of 98.5 The Sports Hub.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
It was our anniversary. And they put some really good videos up on YouTube where they interviewed the people on the station, and ourselves included. It looks like a real documentary and everything else. It's quite good. If you've been with us for 15 years, we appreciate it, and you might get a kick out of seeing the personalities talk about what was going on behind the scenes. And Hardy, a video was just released.
Yeah, I believe this is the one that came out this morning. This is about everyone finding out about and the actual launch of the radio station.
All right, let's hear what's going on.
All right, here we go.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
I'm excited already.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, something's launching.
Woo! Give me a 14-second drone to begin this video, if we could, please. Not long enough. Longer.
Boston, the greatest sports town in America. Some of the biggest moments in sports history have happened right here. And now, Boston has a new home for sports.
When I first heard about 98.5 The Sports Hub coming into existence, I was probably one of the first people outside of management to know about it.
Ooh.
Look at you.
It is true. And if you think about it at
How
the
do you
time,
know?
because they told me 6 months before they made the switch and they hadn't hired anyone else.
6 months?
Yeah. Oh, I knew way before anyone. Oh, sure, certainly I did. They called me and they said they were making the switch, which was interesting because they then there was all these rumors that they were going to get rid of the show.
Oh.
And what was interesting about that is they were like, they're going to launch this new station and spend all this money on this new station, get rid of a legacy heritage rock station, throw that whole brand away. And then they're just going to, they don't want to pay, the $30,000 that's left over on these guys' contracts. Because they got, a few months left on their contracts.
These guys will be good for now, but when they get a real morning show in there.
Let's launch the whole thing. And it was funny because, I think your agent might have been one of the guys that was on team. They're getting rid of the morning show, which is asinine. It has nothing to do with my talent or lack of talent or if the show was going to be a success. It's the idea that CBS Radio would have gone, oh, you know what? Yeah, launch the whole thing. We'll spend all the money and get rid of this heritage station, but we're just going to put this placeholder morning show on until we can get a real one.
He represented the guy he wanted to replace you guys with. Part of it.
Everyone thought that, and it was so dumb because it would just be logical to go, so if you ever think anyone knows what they're talking about in any business, go try to find what people, quote unquote, in the know were saying about that. It was so dumb. But yes, I knew before they hired anyone, before they had talked to anyone, that you were being sarcastic. But I can tell you, I know for a fact it was Hannon, Thomas, me, and Rich were the people that knew about the change. And I was shocked because when they told me about the change, I assumed that
you guys were on your way out.
But they immediately, I think that's why they told us, is because they didn't want us hearing about it and thinking that we were going to get let go. So they told us right away, as soon as way before anything happened.
I was a DJ on WBCN. Had moved to Boston about 5 years previously, and noticed one day that they took all the WBCN logos off the doors and replaced it with just the company name.
I can keep the secret. See, I didn't tell Hardy.
That's the first clue. Things are going to change.
I didn't tell Hardy.
That was a few months prior.
Huh, that's weird. Then we got a new station vehicle that was just sitting out there unwrapped for about a month. I'm like, that's weird. Wonder why they're not putting the BCN logo on that.
My recollection is I was on the 5th floor on the press box level at Fenway Park, and I got a call from Brad Blank, who was an agent at the time.
Oh, Brad Blank getting a shout out in the video.
Brad Blank is one of the people I believe that was convinced that we were going to be gone. What was I going to say?
They had something to do with one of his clients at the time. I believe John just alluded to that.
A little bit, yeah.
With Gresh?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what happened.
Yeah.
He had spoken to Mark Hannon, who was building the Sports Hub, and said the Sports Hub wants you and they want to put you with Felger potentially at 2 o'clock afternoon drive.
I'll tell you one more thing that happened. Amy Brooks was another WBCN DJ, and out of the blue, Gary Tangway took us both out to play golf and bought us lunch one day. I'm like, that's really generous of Gary. I wonder why he's doing this. Turns out he felt guilty because he knew that WBCN was going to be blown up, and he was going to take jobs away from me and everybody else who worked there.
Confirmed by Gary Tangway.
Yeah, feel bad.
I asked him about 8 years later. He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I took you out. I felt terrible. Here's I'll fart in front of you for 4 hours. That will be my repayment to you. Guys, and I'm not long for the radio game either because I got something called ideas. Arm and the Fall. Check it out. Rocky, Amy, check it out. Character, Rocky Suarez, boobs, huge, ass, big. Here we go. She's solving crimes.
Now Rocky had a cut-off leg to deal with.
Yeah, she dug amputees.
I got a call from Gary Tangway about...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I did.
Tangway's a real moron.
I did. I got a call
He was
from
just
Gary.
going around telling everyone what's going on.
Taking people out to lunch. This consider this your death row meal, this lunch at the Whalen Country Club.
Oh, you played Whalen. That's awesome.
Yeah, he really went big.
He really went all out, didn't he?
Look at the Tanger's on a budget. I was doing middays, guys. I wasn't raking it
I'm
in.
going to take you out and play golf, but I'm not going to try.
The king of all media in Boston.
9 holes in a hot dog. Here you go.
Speaking of 9 holes, Rocky Suarez and her sister.
I like that. No, we're
She
going
was
to
a
take you on.
cop. A cop's cop.
We're going to quit at the turn.
Jobs away from me and everybody else who worked there.
I got a call from Gary Tangway about 2.5 weeks before the station launched. And he's like, you know what? They have this morning show that needs a sports guy.
I remember I got pretty excited about it. You know, again, I was covering the Red Sox at the time. So I think I texted Felger or called him. I don't remember, and said, hey, do we need to talk?
It all kind of happened quick. Started calling Mike Thomas and emailing Mike Thomas, and eventually was interviewed because I sat in the lobby and waited for hours until he would see me, and then that was probably a week before we launched.
The day before we started, there was a big meeting in a big conference room the day before we started.
Who could forget the first time we heard it in the staff meeting before we even went on the air, right?
98.5 The Sports Hub.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Where is that? How come we don't use that anymore? 98.5 The Sports Hub.
By Survivor. It's the lead singer for Survivor. Yeah, Eye of the Tiger. The guy saying Eye of the Tiger. Fred talked about in the original meeting where we were all crammed in that conference room.
And I had never met Fred. I just had heard a lot of the morning show, and then I met Fred, and it was comfortable right away.
Oh, that's no problem.
Yeah, man, I met him. I pulled my sweet daddy pistol at him, and I said, you'll be eating lead, Jack. I need 2 things, heroin and vag.
I think you say heroin and a microphone.
No, man, I don't need no microphone.
Right. I think he's right.
I need heroin.
And what?
Vag.
Okay.
You know what? I just identified it. It's Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, Jack.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Be Real said that Jazz Wallach played Birdland.
Too easy.
I thought it was clever. Go ahead.
I started to get excited about it because I thought being on a sports station gave people permission to listen to us. I would talk to people and I would say, you know, have you heard our show? And they go, no. Oh, you're on PCN. That's for kids. Like, that's for kids. And I think being on a sports format opened us up. I know it opened us up to a way larger demographic.
You know, it was really a nervous time for me, just where I was in life with, I guess a 3-year-old at the time. And, you know, we had another, kid that was on the way. And boy, how's this going to work out?
I thought we were going to get fired before the Sports Hub started. I was certain we were going to get fired, certain that we were going to get fired at some point early in the run of the Sports Hub. I always remember thinking that if we could make it 5 years, and at the end of the 5th year, you had made some inroads where we could, sustain and still be a station like that. I remember that being my goal. Get to 5 years and be a viable business is what I remember.
I think we had a lot of good people that were willing to work together. Like, there was good understanding of what the goal was. There wasn't a lot of petty bickering and backbiting and fighting and
now that's a reference to EEI, right?
Yes.
Like, you guys all hated each other at EEI.
Specifically, that was a direct shot at EEI, yes.
What's odd about EEI is that radio stations aren't usually like that. Like, usually everyone pretty much gets along at radio stations. EEI is so weird.
That's the thing. You grow up and you want to get into sports radio, and you get into sports radio, and then you go through that atmosphere. That's the only thing you know. And then I came here, and things are radically different. So it was an eye-opening experience going the other way.
Now, I've had obviously uncomfortable situations on shows here in Atlanta, but that's going to happen. But in terms of like a radio station not getting along, or egos even being that big, I've never experienced that. You're in radio, and that's the weird thing I always thought about EEI is that, and even now, like, Hillman's got a big ego. Like, I don't understand why you're always marginalized and put in your place in radio. I've never worked in radio where the business was doing well. I've been told
Right.
the business has been doing well. It's always been this unmitigated disaster. And I've been in radio since 99. It's always been this huge disaster that's about to fall apart. You're never like treated like a star. You're never like given a data boy. Like I don't know how you could possibly be in this business and think so highly of yourself that you would create that kind of environment.
The egos were massive across all three day part shows.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, no, really, seriously. But we found out later that's because they had never really been challenged. That's the thing.
But it's just that I understand. Yeah, I know. But it's a lack of character, and B, it's first of all, it's not like they were like these huge stars, and second of all, you're on the radio. You're not a movie star or a television star. You're a schlep on the radio. It's the lowest rung of the entertainment business, and I'm not being modest.
Podcaster.
Well, that's not the entertainment business. A podcast is a way to get people to come to your stand-up shows. Other than that, it's a waste. Or to sell, blood work tests if you're Rich Roll. Go ahead, continue.
Toxicity. We just all showed up to do the jobs.
All right, there you go. But I was not surprised everyone got along at this stage. I've never been anywhere where the people didn't get along. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, because you're all bound together. It's like the Herb Brooks mentality. The company, whether they mean to do it or not, the ownership, the big boss, they end up being the enemy, and then you guys are all the downtrodden kind of banding together, and you have that in common. Like, we're all being mistreated. We're all being told that the business is failing, and we're all getting treated not nearly as good as we should. So you kind of you find a camaraderie in that.
Yeah, and have to deal with the other shows that much. I mean, people are going to have disagreements, and people within a show, and you're going to, and obviously things can fall apart. I'm not saying that, but that's working with someone every day.
Yeah, it's wild too because there was hatred across. All
that's
three
so
major shows.
Crazy. Like, I don't even know how that happened.
The afternoon show would make fun of someone on the middays or in the morning, and those guys would flip out. I mean, there were some times where things almost got physical. It was really something.
And that's the thing is that if you're flipping out about someone making fun of you, that's a lack of self-esteem. So ego can go both ways. Like, you can have a big ego but not think highly of yourself. You can hate yourself and have a big ego. It's just you always think everyone's talking about you. And that's the thing. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. They're good videos. Now Hardy really hates the old management because they told me 6 months ahead of time what was going on. And he hates me because I never said anything. I never saw you, though, really, back then.
No, not really.
No, you were doing afternoons. And
yeah, and we had Adam 12 as the buffer.
Yeah, Adam 12 is the guy really screwed over by not telling him. Adam 12 hours.
You think about it, yes.
I'm like, but this guy lives like almost like he's like
already
in the
monk.
woods. Yeah, I'm like, this guy doesn't need any money. He's like, he gets enough tax money from me. He takes advantage of every government-run program there is. I mean, when was the last time that guy paid for a book or a movie?
He can sleep between the stacks there in the Woburn Public Library.
This guy's renting VHS tapes and CDs.
Yeah.
All right. You know how he knows it's a good book? If there's just the right amount of dust on it. All right. We'll be back. There's a guy that gets so mad at me every time I talk about Adam 12. He's like, when it goes to Walden Pond, a lot of people go to Walden Pond. All right. Very good. We'll be back in just a moment. Robert Kraft was on Zolak and Bird Train yesterday. And that means he was jazzing up. I'm friends with Meek Mill. All right. We'll have that for you in just a moment.
More. You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Fun, jazzy tune.
This is Nick's favorite band.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like one of Nick's favorite bands.
2220s.
21 Pilots, here we go.
The X's.
Pumped Up Kicks Kids.
Foster the People.
Foster the People Kids. Yeah.
The Bravery.
What's that terrible band that I really hate from Alaska?
Portugal the Man?
Yeah, Portugal
That's
the Man.
Nick's favorite. That's
Nick
that
probably loves
one.
them.
This one was his second. They are called the 1975.
Oh,
Nick,
yeah.
Nick, I still have the Pooch Hotel has still not told me if Deuce can go to the Pooch Hotel over Labor Day. So young Nikolai is a good chance that young Nicholas. I offered him a prince's sum of money, a very handsome sum of money to take my dog.
I saw that Pooch Hotel the other day when I was, and I've driven past it a million times, but I thought to myself, I wonder who takes their dogs there. It's the Fred Touchers of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, I know. I had a place called the Cat Morgue. Now, what would happen is they didn't come in dead, but people would go like, "Hey, I can watch your cat. You're leaving for a little while? No problem. You'll never see him again." And they'll go, "What are you gonna do with him?" "I don't know, stuff. See what works. See what's doing in there." Have you ever,
Take it apart, see if I can put it back together.
Yeah, like Dahmer. But you ever, how a potato can make a clock run? A cat's appendix can't. I've wired
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. I put stuff up cats, and it can't. None of it can make a clock run. Called all kinds of cables. The old iPhone wire and the new one. Both up cats, and none of them worked. You put it up your cat's brain, and it don't make them alive again. All right. Anyway, Robert Kraft.
Yes.
The great Robert Kraft. Who's just kicking around. He's going to the white party in the Hamptons. He's driving cars. He's getting Belichick off his scent when it comes to dating younger women. Belichick kind of took that all away. Belichick was like, "Oh, yeah, Kraft? How about I go creepy young?" And by the way, again, I'll repeat myself because I laughed yesterday because coming home, I saw Bridgewater State University. It was on the back of a Rolls Royce. Josh.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was on the back of a real crap car. But nonetheless, you know how Belichick, I did find this funny, and I don't mean any disrespect. I went to Rollins. It would be just as funny to me if this person had gone to Rollins. Wink. But here's the deal. They fell in love. They had a common interest in philosophy.
Yeah.
Because this young 24-year-old that the 72-year-old Bill Belichick dating was a big philosophy student and intellectual at Bridgewater State University.
Right, where they study Kant and Kierkegaard and Nietzsche.
I don't doubt they do, but at a very elementary level. Here we go. Here is Robert Kraft, who is a billionaire, sitting down with our own Zolak and Bertrand.
Patriots owner Robert Kraft.
Hey, guys, it's great.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Hey! Have you seen the new issue? We oil the ladies up real nice. Sounds a little like Larry Flint.
Patriots owner Robert Kraft.
Hey, guys, it's great to be with you. I want to wish you a happy anniversary. 15 years is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let me put my leather jacket on.
It's like when I took the demons came around the turf and I killed them with my chain. You know, this is the manifesto's turf. The manifestos. when the demons come on our turf, they get a chain. Oh! You did you ever see the movie that had Sylvester Stallone and the guy from Wise Guy? They were it's about these Brooklyn greasers.
Lords of Flatbush.
Lords of Flatbush. There's a very large
Henry
scene.
Winkler's in there.
Henry Winkler, not Sly Stallone. Henry Winkler.
No, they're both.
They're
both in it.
There's a scene where they go out to catch a little elbow boob.
Oh, yeah, a little side.
And they're like, oh, remember those frisky 50s careless days when you just go up and molest chicks?
Boom, boom, boom.
It's a weird scene.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff I go, it's like, oh, it's very politically correct now, but I could see if you're a woman not wanting guys, going up and like feeling you up without your permission. Yeah. I don't mean to be a white knight for these women. Yeah. Most of them would be dead.
But not wanting that doesn't make you some stuffy dame.
I don't mean to side on the political correctness spectrum, but I'm going to say that was a bad thing.
We appreciate that, Mr. Kraft.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Kraft.
Scott, Jesus Christ. You're a man in your 50s.
Unless it is my former high school principal or a friend of my father's. I generally don't use Mr.
I always say it to my friends and my parents, but my kids' friends don't even call me Mr. Toucher, and I wish they would.
Appreciate that, Mr. Kraft. What do you make of the crowd that's here today?
First of all, my name is RKK Robert.
It's RKK, real cool cat. Oh! Don't make me hit you with my chain. You know this grease lightning? This car I got? It makes the chicks a cream. It's the worst line in the history of a popular song.
A real P-Wagon.
Yeah, well, I can't say that.
Yeah.
It's up there.
It's a real. I didn't even know he said that until you told me.
I didn't know what any of those lyrics were when you watched it the first time.
But he's like, they got to rhyme cream with machine, right?
Yes.
You would assume. Because he goes, dun, 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 the chicks will cream.
For grease lightning. What was with the saran wrap, too?
I don't know.
I looked it up once when they've got the the saran wrap that they're going around the car with.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant going around my face.
No. Apparently that was used as a makeshift prophylactic back in the day.
Oh,
so it's just symbolic of all the sex they were going to be having in Grease Lightning.
I know that.
That seems like a stretch.
Hey.
Why would you?
I researched it.
If you're going to use saran wrap as a rubber, wouldn't you just not use a rubber? Like, if you're going to be irresponsible
if you're Fred
anyway.
Toucher, yes.
Oh, I don't. No. No one asked me to wear rubber.
Ever?
No. Well, just not in recent times.
Yeah.
Not PD post-divorce.
RKK Robert.
And that's your boy Zoe calling you now, too. How weird is that?
Zoe, yeah. I mean, I remember Zoe. I remember Zoe when I was looking to buy the Patriots and coming into practice in the old stadium, the old setup in that indoors place. And, Zoe, I looked up to Zoe because he was one of the shining lights of the team that we took over. So very fond memories. You remember when we met, Zoe?
I remember when we met. You were in my office taking a whiz while I was in the mirror looking at my hair, which was perfect. Remember that? Remember you caught me in the bathroom in my office, right, and sit on it on the wall? Do you
Jukebox
recall?
wouldn't work, so I just pounded the wall, and all of a sudden it worked.
Remember we were spying at you on Inspiration Point and fell out of the car laughing.
Dude, we were in that half bubble bath back there. Sam Jankovic, I think, brought you down. You had long brown hair. And I said, who the heck's this guy? And he said, you told me I'm going to own this team one day. And after that, I looked back, and I ended up kidnapping you for one of our Christmas parties. Bledsoe told the story on Edelman's podcast. So it's been a hell of a ride, man. What do you like what you see out of your football team and what Gerard and Elliott have done so far?
I just tell you, we're building. I don't know what our record's going to be this year, but I'm very excited about what's going on right here at this level between. Looks like we got a little fight going. So
some ejections. Here they come now.
Excuse me. Let me get my chain. Like this garbage can of flame.
The butterfly down there.
He reaches in. Oh no, that's my comb.
Yeah, but seeing how Gerard and Elliott and Matt Groh and the new coaches, I think it's like 18 or 19 new coaches. I don't even know their names, and I've been worried about how things would get integrated here, and I'm really...
It was the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
How's this going to affect our turf? The integration.
I got all the girls are loving me. I am the Japanese.
Okay.
The Harlem Hoods are getting into our turf.
Integrated here, and I'm really proud the way it's coming out. And look, we'll need some real, like what's going on now, the little brouhaha that erupted, and we got to go through these things. But what's really good is everyone's on the same page, and we're trying to build something special, and the fan support has been great, and that means a lot.
There you go. The fan support has been fantastic.
All right. Capello said, hey, it's our 15-year anniversary. You got to go on with Zolak and Bertrand. That's how Capello does it. He says you have to do this.
Yes. It was the 15th anniversary. I mean,
Very
it was
persuasive.
The biggest anniversary we could possibly have. Those videos, by the way, are up on YouTube. All the great documentary-style videos about the 15th anniversary of the station. If you want to know specifically what happened yesterday during the practice, it was not good for the Patriots. Greg Bedard was on Felger Maz. I love when Greg Bedard's on Felger Maz. He does a great job. We will talk about that in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Tucker and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Greg Bedard. I love when Greg Bedard is on Felger and Maz. And the only way I became alerted to it was when I was on Twitter. People, I am on Twitter, but I don't post because I got one of them stalker accounts, burner accounts. But when I was active on Twitter, everyone would just go crazy and get so pissed off at Bedard and Felger and Maz. So I was like, what's going on? And I listened to it, and it was great. And sometimes Bedard is like the lady in the Marx Brothers movies that Groucho's always screwing with, that has, and that's awesome. But then Bedard is also very honest about the team. But he loves football so much, he gets so upset. Because he'll be like, you don't understand, the guards were pulling like no tomorrow yesterday, or da-da-da-da-da. But Bedard was at practice yesterday, the joint practice with the Eagles. We already had Mark Daniels on, and Mark Daniels told us it was an unmitigated disaster.
Did not paint a pretty picture.
And the worst news, if you're just joining us, was that Christian Gonzalez has been bad during camp, which, again, very quickly, the only thing that I'm concerned about if I'm a Patriots fan this year is the young players, the core pieces moving on and playing well.
Getting better.
Christian Gonzalez was supposed to be like your stud on defense. If he does struggle this year, that's the problem. That's one of those things that I'd be looking for. Look, we got Christian Gonzalez. That's taken care of. Number one corner. That's a hard position. That's an elite position. Here we go.
You ever been driving and you see this accident happen in front of you and you just barely miss it? And you're like, you're
that was
sort
close.
of reconsidering everything in your life, like what has happened. You get like a 10,000-yard stare. That's kind of where I am. It was like traumatic.
Is it bad? Is it as bad as anything you've seen in your career?
So I need to go back and watch the Matt Patricia offense, or at least read what I wrote when they had that joint practice with the Raiders. Like it was similar to that, but like that was different. Like that was just. They don't have a chance. This was more like they can't block anybody. Like, I know the Eagles are good, and they have some really good players, especially up front. But, what they're – I mean, the run game didn't really do much. They popped a couple here and there. But, I mean, look, they had – in team periods, they had 42 dropbacks, and they were sacked 14 times.
All right, now what sucks about this if you're a Patriot fan is, look, you're not looking to win games this year again. But as someone who is always rooted for a horrible football team, one thing that you would want to see, again, is the development of your quarterback. And hopefully later in the season, Drake May can come in and get game experience. And the problem is, if you can't even block in a joint practice, you're not going to be able to play Drake May. And does that mean you can't play Drake May on Thursday, really, because you can't get him killed?
The only way, and we discussed this with Mark Daniels, the only way that you can play Drake May is with the first-string offensive line.
But the first-string offensive line didn't play well yesterday. That's the thing. And that's on Wolf and the rest of the Patriots front office, is that I understand you're not going to win and you're not going to build an offensive line overnight, but you got to put something out there that can at least pass protect a little bit, like at least function. Again, this isn't about winning games. Nothing about winning games. But to function enough to have the quarterback have an ability to play in a game.
Mark Daniels told us May literally had no time to look
It wasn't
around.
May holding on the ball too long. But I'm sure
Bedard
gets to it. I'm sure Bedard gets to it. Don't jump the gun, Johnny.
Sorry.
You got a hair trigger today.
Yes.
And most of the completions were just like, short variety. Drake May, I know, people are like, oh, he was 6 for 6 in 7-on-7. First of all, he's like first team all 7-on-7, Drake May. That's what we've learned in training camp. But like 5 of them were just flats, like just look in the flat. He did have one nice ball to, I think it was Baker. That was really nice, deep down the field. That was good. But, yeah, the offense was an absolute train wreck. If this doesn't send the coaching staff and the front office back asking serious questions like, what the hell are we going to do? The Patriots are in real trouble this season.
Yeah, they're in real trouble this season. And, again, I don't care how many games they win. You do want to be able to play young players, all right? And he continues.
And I will say, Brissett had a pretty successful 2-minute drill that got down in the red zone. They got held on 4 downs, but at least they moved the ball. But some of the last period, like Drake May's last 2 periods, and one of them, I don't know why they did this, but it was Drake May with Antonio Mafi at center against the Eagles' first-team defense. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? And, of course, they had a fumbled snap because, God forbid, Antonio Mafi goes through a single practice without a bad snap.
We always knew red flag was Antonio Mafi.
That's
the minute I understood they got the Maf.
concern number one from day one.
Antonio Mafi. Who's going to back up David Andrews? You got Antonio Mafi out there? I mean, that guy's muffing snaps left and right. He can't snap. You know why? Large butt.
Really?
Can't get the ball over it.
Huh.
That's what I've heard around the water cooler.
He can't get the ball over his butt.
Yeah.
Is he turning around and hiking it sideways, Little Rascal style?
Yeah, they call him mega butt cheeks.
I don't even know why they keep putting him out there. There's this kid, Liam Fornadell, who's done a nice job. And finally, they replaced Mafi, not to get in the weeds on the offensive line. But it was stunning to watch. It has me questioning everything, from the decision to draft Drake May to what they're doing on the offensive line to the lack of urgency to address any personnel on the offensive line. Today made me question everything that's been going on there.
Jeez. Not much gray area there. Man.
Oh.
I don't know if I've ever heard of a quarterback not named Tim Tebow who has been killed this much based on his training camp practices, which don't even sound like they're that bad. I wouldn't be concerned about Drake May. I am concerned about Christian Gonzalez, and I am concerned about if on Thursday they can't play Drake May because they literally can't protect him.
When you say killed that bad, do you mean because of the porous offensive line or the criticism he's being killed?
Criticism that he's being killed.
See, I don't even know if it's that much criticism directed toward the quarterbacks this time around. Based on yesterday, it sounds like the line.
No, but he said that the logic of drafting Drake May, which would mean even if you don't play him this year, you still should have drafted him, which means that he's not good.
Yes, but it also means why draft a quarterback if you don't have an offensive line to protect him, build from the lines out. And as Mark Daniels said earlier, it wasn't, Drake May standing back there for 7 seconds, looking downfield. It was snap the ball, and he's running for his life.
Yeah, I know. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying that's not what Bedard was saying. Bedard was saying about why would you draft Drake May, which can only mean that he hasn't looked good, in his opinion.
No, it could also mean that the offensive line is so bad that you start by building your offensive line and then you go get your quarterback.
Well, no, because there's no guarantee that you'll get a quarterback. I mean,
but that's how we've been talking about for a couple of years. That's how the Eagles did it. That's how other teams have done it. It's
the Eagles got a quarterback
way.
in the second round. I mean, the Eagles got lucky with Jalen Hurts. No, he's saying, look, you knew he wasn't going to really play this year anyway. So saying that he's not ready to start, you shouldn't have drafted him, is unfair. To me, it sounds like, I don't know, we're arguing over semantics. I mean, I don't know what he meant. That's what I would assume, though, is that I don't know why you would go, oh, the offensive line's bad, we shouldn't have drafted a quarterback. They'd be like, oh, my toe hurts, I shouldn't have, bought that Band-Aid for my shoulder.
I don't know. There's there was plenty of discussion about it before we got into the draft.
Yeah, the criticism of Drake May hasn't been his arm. It hasn't necessarily been his processing. I mean, everything the coaches say
it doesn't matter. He's been criticized by the media that's been out there for the entire camp, and my point is, it doesn't concern me. The criticism of Drake May doesn't concern me because it's a few practices in front of the media.
And everything we heard before they drafted him was he isn't going to be ready right away. And he got here, and you know what? He's not ready right away. Yeah, so fine, don't play him.
I'll tell you.
Good.
Patrick Mahomes was pretty bad in the preseason, I guess, his rookie year. I guess he was throwing a bunch of picks and everything else. I'm sure people in Kansas City were killing him. I'm not saying that Drake May is going to be Patrick Mahomes, but I am saying that Drake May is going to be Patrick Mahomes.
Nice.
He's going to win a lot of Super Bowls.
Okay.
He's going to make you forget all about Tom Brady. All right, our final anniversary segment as we move on from the 15th anniversary in just a moment.
You're listening to
Game series with the Rangers tonight. Sox lefty James Paxton's been diagnosed with a partial tear of his right calf muscle. He's now hoping to be back before the end of the season. As for the Patriots, they held a joint practice with Philadelphia yesterday in Foxborough, and by all accounts struggled on both sides of the football. The two teams will play an exhibition game against each other in Foxborough tomorrow night. Minnesota rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy is now out indefinitely. He needs surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee. If it's a full repair, he could miss the entire upcoming season, and the entire NBA schedule is due to be released before the end of this week. Yesterday, the Celtics got their 4-game Emirates NBA Cup schedule. All 4 games are in November during a 17-day span, and the last one is a road game against Chicago on the night after Thanksgiving. Sports Hub headlines are powered by the Commuter Rail. Headed to tomorrow's game at Gillette. Get there without the traffic torment and just take the train from Boston to Foxborough for $10 round trip. Get tickets with the M-Ticket app. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. Looking back at 15 years of the Sports Hub. Thank you, Boston, for making us your home for sports for the past 15 years. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, everybody, we are Toucher and Hardy. Last hour of the program. On this hump day, getting into Thursday, and then Friday, and then that's the weekend, and we're working for the weekend here. We got Loverboy tickets coming up, and the next time you hear the Sports Hub squeal of the hub of the tire. This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And you can watch us every morning on YouTube.
Next time you hear that click, click, click of the freewheel hub on your Torker BMX bike. That's
our 15th anniversary as a station. It was the 15th anniversary. There's a lot of great videos up on the 98.5 The Sports Hub YouTube page. They can watch documentary videos. They look good. They're pretty interesting. They're not long. So you can go check those out. Just search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and get going on those. I enjoyed them. And Hardy, what is this final thing? Our final remembrance, and we will move on after this.
Hey, guys. Happy anniversary. 15 years is pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it's not
that.
Four corners.
This is you, Fred. This is the video that has been produced. Now, I haven't watched this video, but this is all about the Rick Patino thing. Did you talk about this for a little while during your sit-down?
Yeah, they asked me to bring up the Rick Pitino hang-up. Yeah, they brought it up, and they asked me to speak about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is...
It's the greatest moment in the history of the station, as I was told.
Top 5, apparently.
Yeah,
Here
absolutely.
We go.
Well, one thing that was funny was hanging up on Rick Pitino, because Rick Pitino was we used to have bookers, and bookers would go around and they would say, this guy's available for a 2-hour slot. He's going to do 50 markets. You're going to have him for 5 minutes. So we thought Rick Pitino, we were relatively new in the show, and I didn't know anything about sports radio, so we said, okay, we'll have Rick Pitino on.
We're joined by Rick Pitino, former coach of the Celtics, current coach of the Louisville Cardinals, who won the national championship.
We're getting ready to come out of break with Rick Pitino. We have him for 5 minutes, and I remember thinking, I don't really want to talk to Rick Pitino. I got nothing to say to Rick Pitino, and I don't want to talk to him at all, so I'll just hang up on him because he was a crappy coach for the Celtics.
Rick Pitino, hello.
Morning, guys.
You stink. You ruined the Celtics.
Oh, boy. I didn't know. Sports is taking a lot more. You were taking a lot more seriously on Sports Talk Radio.
I was ready, too. I was so ready. I made the decision. I was so ready to go. During the break, I made an executive decision. That I was so happy.
So, just to stop the video here for a second, the audio from the video. You had made the decision and told who about it?
I just told Dan, I'm going to hang up on him. I told him in the other room, I'm going to hang up on him.
Yeah,
I
to
just
more or
walked
less
in.
be ready when I point at you for the next.
Oh, yeah, because we were playing.
Yeah, we were going to play like a.
There was some element we played.
Like the stack. It was almost like
the stack. Oh, we went right into the stack.
That's right.
He was calling in later in the show, so we were going right into the stack.
We were going to go right into the stack.
You pointed at me, and I was the only one who was aware.
Yeah, so I said, when I point at you, just go right into the stack. And then, so I did that. And so this is kind of the point of it is that all you got?
No.
Okay, because this is the point I'm making. It's not that what I did was so clever. This is the point I'm making.
Shaughnessy was talking about what an a-hole it was. He wanted to see the a-hole that hung up on Patino.
I wonder if it's going to piss off Shaughnessy. Like, Dan will come thundering in here. How dare you treat an icon like that?
You know, you do stuff on rock radio, and it's supposed to be a comedy show, and everyone goes, oh, haha, like whatever, and then it goes away, and then it went crazy, and that was the first time I was like, oh boy, okay, we're being judged on a whole different level here, because that was nothing. And next thing I know, like, Sports Illustrated's got a little blurb about it. Sports Illustrated, when it was a real magazine, not the AI internet garbage, the real magazine. Someone sat down and wrote it. That was a weird. If you want one moment, that was weird. I remember where I was in my house when I got the Sports Illustrated delivered. I got a subscription and I went, holy shit.
I swore. Pretty badass. That was the sports radio. You are judged on such a different level of what is appropriate. And the funny thing is every time someone gets angry, even with this show, is they'll go like, what did that have to do with sports? Or like, why is that sports? As if we've signed some document that said that we can only speak of sports. It's you've lost the argument already. Like if you are telling us that one of the issues you had with the content that we put on the air or something that we said, and you said, well, what did that have to do with sports? It's like, well, now you've just dug a hole you can't get out of.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a sports show. No, it's not.
No, it's not supposed to be anything.
Show.
It's a morning show. It doesn't have to be anything. It can be whatever we want it to be. It's not under any FCC or government guidelines to only talk about sports, and it happens almost every time someone gets upset with us. But if I would have hung up on Rick Patino on BCN or 99X or any of my other prior stations, it would have been nothing. No one would have cared at all. And when I was on 99X, I mean, it was a very successful morning show. And I got in a lot of trouble. But that was shock jock days. And also, they expected trouble and they didn't, and you got over it. Like they kind of protected you. I didn't know. I had no idea that something as lame as just hanging up on Rick Patino on some call where he was doing a million interviews was going to spark people like Shaughnessy getting actually pissed off. They like classless. You're classless. Like so much you're classless. That was the first time in my career I was ever called classless, as if I was supposed to have class.
I was going to say that's the whole point.
Yeah, you're supposed to be classy. We still get that too. Real classy. Well, I'm not. Who's supposed to be classy?
This is not a high class show.
No, this is radio. Why is it supposed to be classy? And since when even our sports writer's supposed to be classy? You're not even wearing a cummerbund. You call that class? Those cheap cufflinks? You got no class, kid. It just sports radio is very funny. And recently, I mean, there's been stuff recently. Well, I just don't know. It would be different if you were talking about like an offensive lineman for the Eagles, because that's sports, huh?
No,
sports.
No,
I don't have to talk about anything. I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about, as long as it doesn't break the law.
Everything is fine until you say something that they don't like, whether in that case it was a Rick Patino fan or anything else offensive. Everything else is all fun and it's supposed to be entertaining, and everyone seems to be down with that until you touch that third rail for somebody personally, and then they go to, I thought you guys were sports journalists. I thought you guys were supposed to be talking about sports. No, we're not.
Let's put it this way. If Dave and Chuck the Freak did anything that I've gotten, management has gotten involved with due to content in the last 5 years of my career, 7 years of my career. Like Naughty Maserati, we got crap for once from people. Like if they did that it wouldn't, and they're on in many markets. They're on, so say they have more listeners if you add up all the markets, and they do really well in Detroit. If Dave and Chuck the Freak did it, same company, no one would care. No one would care because it's Dave and Chuck the Freak, and they're the shock jocks that are on the rock station. But for some reason, if you're on sports talk radio, what you do is judged in terms of a level of class that's supposed to be adhered to, which is very odd. There's some stuff that's happened on the station where I think the person would have gotten in trouble regardless of format. But there's some stuff that's happened on other shows where people got crap where there's certainly, and I won't bring it up in fairness to them, I just don't want to rehash it. I would if it was me. But there's stuff that other people have gotten crap for where they certainly wouldn't have. The midday show got crap about something that never would have even raised an eyebrow if it was a different format. The afternoon show, there was one thing that they got crap for that certainly wouldn't have even raised an eyebrow if it was a different format. It's just funny because sports is guy talk, essentially, about nonsense, about something that in the scheme of things doesn't matter at all. It's a distraction. Sports is just an expensive distraction. I like it too, but let's face it, it means nothing for our lives or the future of our souls or anything else that's going on. Or it doesn't solve any mysteries of the universe. It's just something watching people play with balls. And ultimately, there's a level of class that goes with that. Journalistic integrity. Oh, get out of here.
No.
And you got to talk more like this. All right, here is my opinion. Here's my sports opinion, sports opinion, sports opinion. Here's the phone number, and you will disagree with my sports opinion, and then we'll have a spirited debate on such, and then we'll move on to the next call.
Oh. That sounds like a good segment.
Yeah.
Then the next segment, I do another opinion. Then we re-rack it coming back the next hour, and we keep it classy. Keep it classy. No slang. All right, so there you go.
All the videos up right now. And
happy anniversary.
First of all, my name is RKK Robert.
Real cool cat. RKK, you know it. You love it. For a good time call. All right, we will be back in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, so bring your friends and family to the FM Championship, August 29th through September 1st, TPC Boston. You'll see the top LPGA players in the
The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Hey, everybody. We are Toucher and Hardy. And you can email John. It's got no H. As someone pointed out, no more heroin, Jack. H. There ain't been no H in me since I ran out of places to put the needle. I ran out of veins, man.
Dizzy Brown died with a spike in his vein. I'll never forget walking in on Dizzy. Poor Dizzy.
Don't you talk about Dizzy. That's my flop house. You got any H?
No, you're off the H. Not giving you any H.
I'll let you pretend you were a lady.
Oh, get that. Now it ends. You went there too quick.
Now it ends.
You went there too quick.
Just like that.
Say lady things. All right, here's an email from Adam.
Treat me like a lady, treat me. And give me money.
We were talking earlier about we had a disagreement as to where the criticism of Drake May, or when Greg Bedard specifically said, I was questioning whether or not they should have drafted Drake May, and you thought he meant because he wasn't any good, and I thought, oh, maybe just because the team isn't ready for a quarterback like Drake May. Adam says, Fred saying that building an offensive line before picking a quarterback is like, quote, my toe hurts, I should have put that Band-Aid on my shoulder, is a poor metaphor. There are two things
that's not true.
It's a poor metaphor. He said, there are two things that have no relation to one another when clearly the line and the quarterback are related. A better example would be, my toe hurts, I should have bought those orthopedic insoles. And then Adam says, I have hammer toe. This is my area of expertise. So thank you for divulging that personal information, Adam. And he says, keep up the good work.
What's a hammer toe?
I don't know.
Does it wear
it's referenced
baggy pants in the crotch?
No, it's referenced in Boomerang because Eddie Murphy has a thing. He wants a girl with nice feet.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you take your shoes off and it's hammer time inside her shoe.
Oh, she was stepping on nails.
No, so maybe we need to go a quick
Remember
Google
that part
image
of Boomerang that you always, as a kid, would fast forward to and then pause?
Okay.
When he unveiled the foot?
So here's hammer toe, when that kind of knuckle is like,
I don't know. I just
like
find
that.
it interesting that people are into feet at all. They are so non-offensive to me and non-attractive to me that I don't care. Like, it's not something I find gross or find attractive. Mm-hmm. Foot fetish is the funniest of all sexual fetishes. It really is, because it makes no sense to me.
So it wouldn't bother you if a girl had, like, ugly, gnarly feet?
It wouldn't bother me if a girl was missing toes.
Wow.
At all. Like, ugly, gnarly feet, like in that, like what? Like that if they were infected, it would bother me.
And like crusty, misshapen.
Like, what do you mean by crusty? Like, the woman has to bathe, but that's an overall hygiene problem.
No, just like roughed, calloused. Like you.
Yeah, I wouldn't care.
Huh.
I don't ever like look at feet. I don't play with them. I don't look at them. I remember when I was if you want to hear something embarrassing, I remember when I was probably older than I should have been. I was under the assumption that if you massage certain part of the feet, the nerves were connected to like certain erogenous zones.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So I would
keep talking.
I would rub like a girl's feet, like going like in like being all confident, like I'm gonna. Yeah, how about this? And the girl probably would be like, "What are you doing?" No. They probably thought I had a foot fetish.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing it wrong.
Probably. You gonna give me a lesson? Come on. Put that dog on the table.
I have an email sent
John.
to me, but really it's a question for Hardy.
Oh.
This is from Sarah. Hi, John.
Oh, is it Sarah from Everett?
Yes, it is.
I have 5 emails here that I was going to get to 1 or 2 of them from Sarah. She's turned into a prolific emailer.
Yes, I have another one from her this morning.
She likes the attention.
Wondering if Hardy has noticed how Dylan Dreyer has been dressing inappropriate lately.
What?
Happy anniversary.
What? I haven't watched the Today Show in 8 months. I don't see it. I don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's too bad. Sounds like you would enjoy
what,
it.
What does she mean by inappropriately?
She does. Oh, I read you what she sent me. I have no idea. I haven't seen it either.
Oh, boy. She's turning into a Little Miss Look at Me. I do not like that.
David sent this to both of us. He said, using ratings. We played an argument that you had with Felger like 10 years ago where Felger was mad at you for the content when you were, coming into the station, filling in while they were coming back from a studio that was broken. And he was like, talking about the ratings. And I said, I bet you Felger wouldn't do that anymore. And then I said, some roundabout way, I said that I don't do that. Dave says, using ratings. I don't know if it's quite the same thing, but I've heard Fred use the ratings repeatedly against callers who talk as to him, saying he sucks. I'm not sure about recently because I only listen for 15 minutes. I'm in the car nowadays. Oh, you can consume the show 24 hours via our podcast.
There you go.
Or on YouTube.
Yep.
But things like, well, you're still listening, so what does that have to say? That sounds pretty close to what Felger said, in my opinion. Sincerely, Dave. I haven't gotten into it with a caller in quite some time, and I don't recall using that. If I have, it's possible. I'm on 20 hours a week, baby, and it's all coming off the top of the dome, so anything can happen. This is live radio. We can take calls. Put that in your precious podcast.
Felger.
Call at 10 o'clock and let Zoe talk about the zero set with
Next
you
time we'll just
for
have
4
dead air
hours.
or play the Grateful Dead. You Trustafarian, hippie wannabe, rich kid wannabe selling grilled cheeses in the parking lot and taking nitrous balloons, jackass.
That is very mild for you, by the way. Like, you are not, you're still controlling yourself. You're not in a full rage.
He was just ramping up, though. This kind of took him by surprise because he wasn't sure that Felger was being an a-hole.
But when you get pissed, you get that visceral feeling, like a literal physical sensation in your stomach. I bet. Do you guys not get that?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, he's riding that. That's the thing that you have to fight off to make rational decisions. That's like, it only lasts for like a second, but that's when you snap. Like, for instance, one time I was walking in the airport and my kid just swung around. My son just kicked when he was little, just turned around and swung and nailed me in the balls, like on purpose. And there's that wave of adrenaline and anger that you have to swallow, and then you can act rationally.
Happened to me in the driveway the other day.
Yeah, and you just get
playing one-on-one with my kid.
My
who was
daughter
losing.
was like joking around and poked me in the eye the other day. So you just got to be like, okay, cool.
Yep.
So my argument would be like, that's when you would really be going in. I think the day after the Lions lost in the NFC Championship game, Hardy was way more surly than that.
Oh, I was.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to make fun of
this.
This
is a conversation we were having earlier about nips that got phone calls. You can feel free to call in 617-779-0985. Morning, fellas, is someone who's recently adopted a dog and has begun walking said dog on the street sidewalks. Do you wear shoes? I've noticed stray discarded chicken wings are just the norm now. When did this start happening? Have I never paid enough attention to what was on the ground when I was walking around before? Why so many chicken bones? My dog obviously picks them up and starts gnawing on them, and I have to quickly pull them out of her gullet before she tries to swallow them. That's a brave move. If I try to take a chicken wing out of my dog's mouth, machi, then my hands become covered in chicken parts. 2 weeks ago, there was even a full discarded rotisserie chicken carcass in the middle of the road. What is wrong with people? The chicken litterers are just as bad as people who refuse to pick up their poop and walk their dogs barefoot in Newton.
Yeah, it's.
I pick up the dog crap now. I have to. I walk the dog 2 hours a day. If I didn't, the neighborhood would all know that it was me that wasn't picking up the dog crap. There's too many eyes on me since I foolishly admitted it on the air years ago.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I won't even let should enter in the conversation. You can leave it at you have to.
But there are times where the dog will go phantom because the dog, if I'm on a walk, just goes like, I'm going to take lots of craps. And there's sometimes where it's diarrhea and there's very little of it. I ain't picking that stuff up. There's no point.
Yeah, the only times where I don't do it is if we are like out in the woods, like on a trail somewhere, and it's like the dog goes off somewhere. I'm like, I'm not going in there and risking
No, it's
poison
better
ivy or the blue
No,
hill.
but that's part of the
rattlesnake.
ecosystem. There's deer. No, I'm not kidding. There's deers and raccoons and squirrels and all kinds of stuff taking dumps in the woods. That would be ridiculous. That because I take my dog to a dog park, and again, the guy from this town.
Oh, he was back there?
The city. He just came up to me and handed me literature. Like, I'm like, what are you doing in here? Just go away. I don't even think that's his job, to be honest with you. I think his job is to change the crap bags. But there's a woods, and if anyone ever told me, like, go pick up after the dog, what do you think's going on in here, dum-dum? We're infiltrating the woods. The animals should be in the woods. The dogs should be able to do whatever they want in the woods. Like if a dog went and killed a chipmunk, would you freak out? Like what?
Yeah.
No, it's part of their instinct, their nature. Like I guarantee you, there's a ton of crap in the woods from all kinds of animals. This is where they're supposed to live. This is the reason our government dollars preserve this land.
Coyote crap.
Yeah, I saw a coyote running across the road yesterday. Big old coyote. It was during the day too.
Yeah, you see one of them big ones, you think it's a German Shepherd.
I thought it was a
loose.
deer, almost. I thought it was a doe, a deer.
A female deer?
Nah.
That's Ray.
No, but it was a big old coyote. So you know what I did? I got out my pistol and just started shooting. I didn't get it, but I let off a couple rounds before I had to. I went, hey, I stopped traffic. I go, coyote. And I started wildly firing off the gun.
CWP finally coming in handy. Sarah also wanted us to know that Henry Winkler was almost cast in Grease in the John Travolta role, but that got me down the rabbit hole of looking at other actors who were almost cast.
Mm-hmm.
John Travolta was supposed to play Forrest Gump.
Really?
Yes. He was offered the role, offered to audition for it, but turned it down to do Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I thought you were going to say gay stuff. Okay. He is like a fan of heavy metal, John Travolta. So occasionally on my Instagram feed, there will be something from like a metal band that I'm not familiar with. And there's been more than a few occasions where John Travolta has invited them to his house when they're in town. So like they'll play in LA or wherever the hell he lives now. And like they're just like at John Travolta's house. I guess he's a super nice guy, you know, like Louis Anderson when he would have the young comics stay at his house. Come stay at my house, young David Spade.
Poor Louis. I think he was unhappy.
Yeah, my dad was a real alcoholic. He used to lock me in a closet. I'm fat because my dad was an alcoholic. That's every time I heard Louis Anderson. Like he killed on The Tonight Show. Like he's a famous.
Oh, yeah.
So The Tonight Show was a launching pad for comics back in the day, like before the internet and everything else, blah, 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 blah. But you really got one crack at it, and it was make or break. Like if you did well, your career was off. If you didn't do well, chances were you probably weren't going to get on again.
I love hearing people talk about that. Like you went on The Tonight Show the next day and did well, especially. Everybody knew you. Everybody was talking about
Yeah,
you.
all of a sudden, like the Comedy Store, like and stuff, you were like the lead act. You were now a feature comic that could travel the country. Famous Eddie Murphy had a great first Tonight Show. And Louis Anderson has this famous great Tonight Show, and he's very funny. Like, no sarcasm, really funny. But it's just so sad. Like, everything is just, it's all about him being fat. And, like, Johnny and Ed are, like, dying laughing. When it was like the Will Ferrell, it was like the bit that everyone says was so funny, but then Odenkirk and Chris Rock don't like it anymore. And Chris Rock didn't like it at the time with the Chris Farley bit with the Chippendales dancer. Because I always thought that was the first thing I ever knew of Chris Farley. And I'm like, big deal. He's like just dancing around being fat. So first of all, he's not even that fat. But second of all, at the time, he's not super fat. But regardless, but I'm like, the joke is he's fat. Like, I don't think it's that funny a sketch because people are like, it's so funny. And it's really not. It's really not that funny. And I always contended that, and everyone would get mad at me and go like, oh, you're a snob or whatever else crap they accused me of. And then wouldn't you know, Odenkirk and Chris Rock have come out and talked about it and said, like, Yeah, I didn't like that. Like, I didn't like, and it was bad for
think
Chris,
that-
and Chris didn't like it.
Yeah, I think they thought it was a little cheap, and I think they kind of second guessed some of the writing in it because, like, the big payoff line at the end when they decide to give the job to Patrick Swayze, the reasoning is he just has a much better body.
Yeah.
which is kind of funny, but God, he's just really hammering home the hurt.
But I know why they did that joke is because that joke kind of saves the sketch because it makes it more than just a fat guy dancing around.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of makes it, that meanness to it gives it a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
So that's not even I know what you're talking about. I know that Odenkirk didn't like that line, and Chris Rock didn't like that line. I think Chris Rock talked about it on Stern. I don't know where Odenkirk talked about it. Odenkirk did the Man Down by the River sketch. He wrote that.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great sketch.
Now that's a great sketch.
Now that's a great sketch.
And that's the one where I don't even mind the break a little bit because normally it's Jimmy Fallon breaking.
Oh,
and
no.
ruining
A
any
legit
sketch.
break is awesome.
Yeah, but because David Spade can't do it.
A break in a great sketch is fantastic. It adds to it. A great break in a bad sketch doesn't make it a good sketch. Case in point, Beavis and Butthead sketch last season on Saturday Night Live, where it's Ryan Gosling and whoever the nameless character on Saturday Night Live is in their cast of millions. There's the guy who does Trump and everyone else. And they're just dressed as Beavis and Butthead. And they're at this thing, and everyone's breaking and, like, laughing. And then it was there was an article, like, the making of the great sketch. The sketch is these two guys that are dressed as Beavis and Butthead. It should have been a 1250 sketch.
Yeah, that got bumped.
That got bumped. And then it's people like, this is so funny. And the reason people think it's funny is because everyone broke during it. And I contend that doesn't save the sketch. But if you know someone's just killing it, like there have been ones with Will Ferrell, like where Will Ferrell is improvising or like taking it somewhere. The breaks during the Stefan sketches with Hader were great, and now you know that John Mulaney, who wrote them with Hader, would throw in lines on the cue cards at the last minute.
Brand new lines in the prompter.
That he never saw to make him laugh.
Yep.
And that's funny to me. Like, that made it funnier. Like, Hader
because
not
you
being able to
see
get
him
through it.
reading the line and laughing before he says it because it's the first time he's seeing the line.
Which adds something to the sketch.
Yeah.
But, Fallon breaking over nothing. And the sketch he doesn't break in is Debbie Downer, the Walt Disney World one, which is a great sketch where I know why they're breaking because they put the camera real close, tight up on Rachel Dratch's face, and they play a trombone noise. I mean, that would make me laugh too. It's a great sketch. And that's the one where Fallon's like the last to break.
Oh, that's the upset.
I'm going to give you.
I know too much about this.
I'm going to give you one more actor who turned down a role. I'm going to make you guess.
Okay.
Burt Reynolds turned down a role in 1973 because he believed audiences would not accept an American in that role.
James Bond.
Very good, Fred Toucher.
Well
How about
done.
it? One time for the kid.
And he's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
He's probably right.
Can you imagine him as James Bond? I wish I could do a good thing.
You got to chew gum.
Yeah, just I can't do him. But it was just like, yeah. Shaking. Why don't you shake that thing? Yeah. Then Dom DeLuise, he hits him in the face for no reason. And
Dom
everyone
DeLuise
laughs.
is across the casino. He walks over after
Hey, what's up, fatso?
Playing Baccarat, stands up and punches Dom in the face.
Those breaking. Hey, look, get what we're taking care of an elephant. You're an elephant. Then he looks at the camera. Like,
wait, that's the second one, is it? That's the second one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cannonball 2. The
Cannonball
extras.
Run 2. That's
Cannonball
the
Run
second
2
one.
is just
no.
the
Smoking the Bandit 2.
Is that when they're taking the elephant?
Yes, the Smoking the Bandit 2. That's the second one.
Oh, that's right. And Dom DeLuise plays the veterinarian.
Yeah. And how much thought
Right?
do you think they
He
put?
rides in the back of the semi.
Yeah.
With the elephant.
I can assure you, this is how this happened. Smoking the Bandit 2, elephant. Hey Dom. Do a funny voice. Because Dom DeLuise inexplicably has a non-funny accent the whole movie, an indiscriminate, like just dumb accent.
Right. It's European-based.
Whatever. But, it's not Indian. But like, but it would be but he is just like, that one. Just do a funny voice. Just do a funny voice. We need Dom in here. Why? He's fat. Like,
we're going to wrap this thing in 8 days.
Exactly.
Essentially.
All right. There you go. That was Smoking the Bandit 2, huh?
Yep.
Very good. All right, we'll be back with the stack in just a moment.
Sports Hub. Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Hey, yo, we are Toucher and Hardy. And our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. The Stack is brought to you by Best Ford in Nashua. Looking for great deals on new Fords? Go to the Best First. Best Ford in Nashua. Head to thebestford.com. What's going on, Hardy? What do you got for Big Freddie T over here? I'm waiting. I'm dying.
Yesterday we were talking about towns not far from Boston that have a very rural feel. Well, one of them really made a case for themselves yesterday, the town of Raynham, because a loose bull caused a car crash in Raynham.
A loose bowel?
No, bull.
Someone got too excited?
A male cow.
Male bowel movement.
No. Farm owners were loading the bull onto a transport trailer heading for a slaughterhouse when the animal realized what was going on, became frightened, and escaped. Officers responded to 911 calls of a loose bull around 9 a.m. This was Monday. And authorities say the bull ran through multiple fences, some electrical, and jumped over a 6-foot-tall beam to escape. 1,300 pounds of very pissed-off livestock jumping over a 6-foot beam.
What a dumbass. Why don't you just let him kill you?
And the bull ran onto I-495, caused a 3-car collision. Unfortunately, they had to euthanize the bull.
It made out better.
Well, they found the bull swimming in a nearby pond. He's like, "Oh, I'm free. I'm like Andy Dufresne at the end of Shawshank. I'm down here in the stream. I'm out." And but then the bull aggressively swam toward the group of officers on shore and began charging at an officer. So,
well, if you said, Fred, you can be euthanized or you can die in a slaughterhouse. I think I'll take the euthanasia. I think that the cow or the bull. I apologize. The bull. One in that case, right? Wouldn't you want to be humanely euthanized? That's how Dr. Kevorkian did it. Thank God people got in the way and they said, stop that.
Yeah.
Giving people what they want. How dare you? People that are sick, that want to end their lives. Let me decide for them.
Well, here's
Not
how
so fast. I'm in the government.
Here's how they euthanized it. The statement explained that gunshots disabled the bull, but the farm owner told the police you'd need to be put down rather than captured. See, they shot him a bunch of times, but it's like, no, that bull's fine.
Just pissed him off.
Yeah, it is. So you're gonna have to you're gonna have to do something. So the farm owner got his personal hunting rifle and then euthanized the bull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He gave him a DDT.
There's body cam footage of it. Oh, no, thank you.
Let's not see that. I have no interest in seeing that.
No, not of them actually, the actual moment, but just of the 1,300-pound bull charging at you. Not doing it.
That's what. Well, look at what Johnny Knoxville did. He had a catheter for like 3 years because he let that bull hit him in the last Jackass movie.
Jesus.
He had a catheter because of that?
He had a catheter for 3 years because of that.
He
still gets dizzy. I don't think he can drive cars anymore.
They had one of them longhorn steers at the media night at the Super Bowl in Houston, and it was just kind of like in a pen outside the restaurant.
Very humanely.
Where the open night was. And you could go up and like pet the steer, like stroke its horns or whatever. I said, I ain't getting anywhere near that thing. There's nowhere. I'm not going even close to that thing. Are you kidding?
Yeah, they talked to the guys at Jackass and they're like, who had the most balls? And he goes, without question, Knoxville, because everything that we did, there was a chance that we could get away with it. Like when Steve-O walked the slack line over the alligator pit with meat hanging off of him, like the idea was you get from one side to the other without falling, like swimming with the sharks. The idea is that you get back to the boat before they bite you. With Johnny Knoxville, he just stood there and let a bull hit him.
Yeah.
There was no getting out of the way. The bit was this bull, big-ass 2-ton bull, is going to come full speed and just knock into me, and I'm going to take the hit.
The beanbag to the abdomen from the shotgun, like the riot beanbag that they'll shoot.
But that can't kill you. Johnny Knoxville put himself in a situation where he could easily have been killed or paralyzed, quadriplegic. I mean, the bull hit him. There was no stunt gear or anything. The bull hit him.
Yeah.
He went up in the air, and fell back down. He ended up with a catheter and like a massive concussion. And the thing is that you go up in the air like that and you fall and you break your back or neck. I mean, you're quadriplegic. I mean, people get quadriplegic diving into the swimming pool.
That's you're right. That is the best one. But the other stuff they did, the boxing butterbean in the store when they were like
Not
in
gonna
Tokyo.
kill you.
That could kill you. Butterbean, getting one shot to the head, turn you off like a switch.
Not nearly as likely as a bull hitting you and killing you. I mean, if you're gonna, there's no argument you're gonna make.
I'd take the bull over Butterbean.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. No,
you wouldn't.
No,
then you're
not
an
a
idiot.
chance.
Well, then you're not giving enough respect to Butterbean.
I'll
Just
live
because
with
his
that.
name is Butterbean, don't dismiss him.
Butterbean fought some like MMA guy and just like he fought a professional wrestler. There was a professional wrestler that was like, I'm going to fight Butterbean. And Butterbean was like, okay. And he's like, this guy didn't know how to box. And he's like, so I just he's like, he's not going to be able to take one of my punches.
That was at WrestleMania. I'm looking at it
Yeah,
now.
they did a WrestleMania during the Attitude Era.
Bart Gunn.
Yeah, Bart Gunn fought Butterbean, and like it was during WrestleMania, and really fought him, and Butterbean just knocked him out cold, like knocked him out full on cold.
Yeah.
It was not much of a match. I was there, Andy Wong and I.
Plus, the other thing I would do that Knoxville did wrong, I would have done the little 2-finger thing at the bull, even though he was blindfolded, like Crocodile Dundee.
No,
That thing would have laid down
That
before
doesn't
it
work?
even hit me.
You know they can't see color. It's not the red of the cape that attracts them. It's the movement of it.
Yeah, I remember hearing that when I was a kid. What do you want?
A little that-a-boy. That's all.
A Belchertown man was arrested and charged early June with drug trafficking. Amherst police officer said he had methamphetamine. You know what it was? Salt in a salt shaker.
It's just as dangerous.
He pulled the guy over, smelled marijuana. The guy admitted that he had smoked a joint about an hour before. Said, all right, we're going to search your car. They found large crystal-like rocks in a salt grinder directly within the man's reach. He said, oh, this guy has 2 cell phones, and he was very nervous, and these rocks were much larger than that of table salt. Well, apparently law enforcement officers rely upon their training and blah, 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 but it was a mix-up, and it was salt.
There was someone who got nervous when he was high and the cops pulled him over to search his car. I would have gone like, what's wrong with you with your nerves as I go through your belongings as an officer of the law that could put you in jail.
The lawyer initially said, my client says the salt shaker was completely sealed, unopened, and it's also the type that can't be filled without breaking it. There was also no field testing done to indicate it wasn't just salt. You know what it was? Salt.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
No, well, they're very sophisticated nowadays.
Sorry about the meth trafficking arrest.
Is Pablo Escobar still alive?
I don't think so.
Because I heard someone reference him as like in the present tense. Like, go ask Pablo Escobar. But and I took it as he was still alive. But he is dead.
A Colombian drug lord.
Yeah, okay. There you go. All right, well, that'll do it for us. So much for Dan paying attention to the clock. He's usually rushing us out of here. All right.
Shot and killed while trying to escape from the police. Hit by bullets in the torso and feet. And a bullet which struck him in the head, killing him.
Was he missing stuff?
Some say he shot himself.
No. That'll do it for us. Everyone enjoy your days. Here comes Scotty Z. Scott Zolak back in studio. It's a treat for all the television viewers. That'll do it for us. Bye.